This is Sports Radio 560 WQAM Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and WQAM.com for the world. Sports Radio 560 QAM presents the best of Neil Rogers. Neil is still on vacation, so don't call in, okay? Just lay back and enjoy it. The best of Neil is on 560 QAM.
Hi there, Well, today we've got a very extra special friend stopping by to show us all about something really special. I hear him at the door right now. Come on in, Mr. McMahon.
How are you, laddie? Hey, brought by something I wanted to show you.
Ooh, I wonder what it is. It looks like an octopus with a kilt on.
It's me bag, boy.
Ooh, your bag?
Hey.
Ooh, what? Can I touch it?
Sure, go ahead.
Ooh.
Run your hands there.
That's soft.
Hey, like velvet. Hey.
What's this right here?
That is my blowpipe.
What do you do with the blowpipe?
You blow on it, lad.
You blow on
Hey,
it?
you put your mouth around it and you blow.
Oh, can I do that?
Hey, would you like to blow my pipe, laddie?
Oh, can I?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Come on, lad. You got to put your mouth around it, lad. Don't be afraid it's not going to break.
Like this?
Hey, that's a boy. Stick it all the way down your throat.
It's getting bigger.
Hey, that means you're doing it right.
What's this over here?
That's me chanter.
What do I do with that?
What you do with that, laddie, is you put your both hands on it, you cover the hole, and you run your hands up and down the shaft real quick.
Ooh,
Hey.
like that?
Hey, run your hands up and down it there. Now what you want to do, laddie, is you want to blow on the pipe. You want to squeeze the bag nice and gentle. And then you want to run your hands up and down the shaft real quick.
Okay.
All together, all at the same time.
Okay, here we go.
Good, laddie. Hey, that's good, lad. Sure. Hey, it's good, laddie. Keep blowing. Blow harder, laddie. Harder. Squeeze the bag. Squeeze more. Run your hand up and down the shaft. Quick, faster. Run your hand up and down back. Blow. You've been doing your brain, I'm a
Can I do that again?
After the catch me breath, maybe.
Hey, I'll tell you what a trooper I am. I just got off the phone with my good buddy Mitch Hirsch, my stockbroker, bought 200 more shares of Citrix. All right. I'm a moron. That's okay. Somebody's got to buy it. Hey, guess what the magic number is today? 8. Yeah. Is that incredible or what? And is that a fast finger? Even George was impressed with that.
8.
That's the magic number today. And you know something? That's how much that Citrix is going to be worth, too, when I get done.
$8.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the magic number. You realize there are probably a lot of people out there who don't know that we only got 8 shows left before I've had Moose for the summer. Get out of here for the entire summer. Yeah, a lot of people that weren't here, or they don't read the newspaper. Nobody reads the goddamn newspaper. And they still missed that story. 8 more shows. Not that I'm counting, you understand. Am I counting?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am. By the second. Heard poor Defo there at the end with he better thank God that some of my people tuned in about 2-3 minutes early. It's the only thing got him through that damn lightning round.
Uh-huh.
Even a fudge packing kid was on there. Oh, lots of stuff today. Made the newspaper big time over the weekend. Really boost your ego. Doesn't it boost your ego? No. Robert Steinback, I just want to tell you one thing about him, okay?
He's an asshole.
No, actually, he's not a bad guy. Occasionally he writes, his intentions are right. But his problem isn't dark skin, it's thin skin. That's his problem. Thin skin. Many times over the years, I've read Robert Steinback's commentary from the Herald on the Air. Good column. Agree with him. Said nice things about him. He isn't always right any more than I'm always right. I'm only right about 99% of the time. But at any rate, so Thursday I ripped him because he wrote a really stupid thing about that 13-year-old kid and about, it really just tears at my conscience to think that in 31 years when this kid is 44, which is what Steinback is now, and when he's 44, he's still going to be rotting away in a prison, all this other hearts and flowers for a kid that blew away his teacher. And I ripped Robert an ass for what I thought was an idiotic comment, and I still say it's a horrendous column. So he doesn't waste any time at all. Nice going there, Robert. Don't let any grass grow under your feet because it's against the law to smoke it. Can South Florida learn to talk is the heading of yesterday's Robert Steinback column in the Herald, in which, of course, and the only reason he wrote this column is to take another shot at me. All right, take a shot. Did he ever mention my name before when I said nice things about him? No. When I agreed with, and not only that, but many of the things that I've said, like about the Elian business, he said the same thing in his column. If he says it's okay, if I said I'm a bad guy, which you'll hear. He talks about all people from different cultures. We don't talk to each other. We can't get along. I'm not going to read the whole column. He says the only window into this process are a handful of volatile media operatives who dare to say openly what is usually confined to private conversation. Cuban talk radio hosts Carlos Demont and Matias Farias, oh, I love that name, Matias Farias, is on the Diaz, for example, regularly disparage black and white non-Hispanics. Talk show host Neil Rogers has made a comfortable living insulting black and Hispanic people.
Loan me $50.
He says. The black-oriented Miami Times routinely lob accusations of racism at white and Cuban people and employs mean ethnic references such as Cuban mafia and Banana Republic mentality. Mean ethnic references. Is Banana Republic mentality a mean ethnic See, the Banana Republic means what it means. Everybody knows what a Banana Republic is. It's Miami. It's a place where the politicians are like in like our sales department, a revolving door. But it's a mean ethnic reference. Let's face it, Robert, you wrote this whole article because you want to take a shot at me because I said something about one column. Mean-spirited, thin-skinned. Not dark-skinned, no problem with that, but thin-skinned. That's your problem. Neil Rogers has made a comfortable living insulting black and Hispanic people. How do you like that? How about the Jews? How about the Orthodox Jews? How about the old Jews in Hallandale? How about the fags? How about everybody else? Because we're an equal opportunity basher on a show. 85% of the show is shtick. It's a comedy show. Okay, Robert, you jackass? You Schwarzer? Oh, see, there he goes, insulting black people again. Lighten up a little. About 3 shades would be good in your case, sweetheart. Man, is that pathetic. All upset, all bent out of shape because I had the audacity to attack his column. And by the way, I'm right and you're wrong, sweetheart. See, there's the buzzer for you. You're wrong. All this hearts and flowers about that 13-year-old murderer, the killer. 13-year-old killer. See, it's just like Fred Goldman calls O.J. He won't say his name. He calls him the killer. If we refer to Nathaniel Brazil as the 13-year-old killer, then it puts it in the proper perspective as opposed to like the 13-year-old child, the 13-year-old honor student, as Fred Grimm with his Hearts and Flowers column in the same paper this morning or yesterday, whenever this was. I was not even going to waste my time with that. About the bleak options that await this poor kid, and about the prosecutor Krischer up there in Palm Beach County has left only one bleak option for poor Nathaniel Brazil, and neither one offers the advantages given kids. Advantages, the kid sentenced in juvenile court. Are we looking for advantages for this kid? No. How about advantages for the dead guy? You idiots. Everybody's like bleeding hearts and flowers. In fact, here's a letter to the editor in the Herald this morning from Joe Keene in Key Biscayne, who says, I wonder what goes through the minds of a state attorney and grand jury members when they indict a 13-year-old honor student for first-degree murder. Not just a 13-year-old, but a 13-year-old honor student, the implication being that because he was such a good student, how could you do that? See, I think he's looking at it backwards, this Joe Klein or Keene or whatever his name is in Key Biscayne, because the fact that he was an honor student certainly makes it very clear that he knows the difference between right and wrong, asshole. God. When is it going to stop? Is it going to stop?
No.
All these idiots, these bleeding hearts for the murderer, but the family and the guy that's dead, nobody gives a rat's ass about him. That's America for you. Oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do about this poor kid? This poor honor student, I'm sorry. Anyway, now don't get excited, okay? Only got 8 days left, last 9 minutes, not that I'm counting.
No portion of this broadcast may be reproduced without the express written permission of WQAM Beasley Reed Acquisition Corp.
We finally made it through and we all survived. I wasted my time at homeroom number 5 until we talked for a year in class each day. Never heard a word that any teacher did say. We weren't as studious or no as the rest of the pack. In fact, home ec nearly gave us both a heart attack. We both felt school time was just time wasted away. We never knew what homework was anyway. Yeah, the reading and the writing had to slow us down. Spent most of our time just fooling around. I reminisce about all the cool times we shared. Like sleeping during class or out the window just stare. So this is where we are now. Using all our education, we serve you across the nation. Be your host and be your servers as you order up your burgers. Using all our education, we serve you across the nation. Be your host and be your servers as you order up your burgers.
All right.
Welcome to Burger World. May I take your order, please?
Yeah.
And this thing is moving along fast. By the way, we have a classic, soon to be a classic by The Beast, an original that we're going to be playing very shortly. As The Beast strikes back again. I'll tell you, he's going to be out of this place pretty soon. He's moving onward and upward to the big time. You can almost smell it. Or maybe that's Josh Friedman we're smelling. Oh, also, before we get to the thing about the rat and our poll from a Friday, here on the front page of the Sun Sentinel, which the Herald doesn't have room because the picture of Tiger Woods takes up the whole front page. Anybody care about Tiger Woods?
No.
No. Front page of both newspapers, golf. I hate to break the news to you. I don't care if he broke the record by 1,000 strokes. Golf doesn't belong on the front page of a major market newspaper. Anywhere. Front page of the Sun Sentinel, Haiti's election chief flees to U.S. fearing for his life. He didn't verify returns. And here's a whole article about how they can't even, they don't know what the hell's going to go on. First they had the shooting, and then there were thousands of ballots all over the streets. And aren't we always reading about it? And didn't the Herald tell us that they had a wonderful, peaceful election, and everything is Grady in Haiti? Yeah. Who the hell are you kidding? Democracy, my big fat ass. So there you go. I just mentioned that in passing. Our poll on Friday, and this is pretty revealing, by the way. If the presidential election were being held today, who would you vote for? Al Gore. Oh, I'm sorry, that's an editorial comment. Al Gore, 503 votes, 40.3%. But the most fascinating part of our survey was stay at home, ran a strong second, including me. I'm not voting for him. I'm not voting for Bush. What? No, I will not vote for either one of them. And don't give me that look, Joe, like, what's wrong with you? No, I will not vote for either one of them.
You really should.
I really should what?
I know you don't like it, but the whole lesser of two evils.
No, I'm tired of that. I'm not buying this crap about lesser of two evils. I'm not casting a vote for somebody who is eminently unqualified to be dog catcher, a lying, devious turd burger of a wooden cigar store Indian. That's what he is.
But the other guy.
Well, screw them both. Okay, I'm going to be out of here in 4 years anyway. Screw them both. So at any rate. Gore 503, 40.3%. Stay home 413, 33%. A full third. You turd. Stay home. Vote for George W. 271, only 21.7% in this crowd. Ralph Nader 45, 3.6%. Pat Buchanan only 15 fascists out there, 1.2%. 15 Nazis. Or maybe Rick Riley might have voted 15 times. That might have been it. He likes Pat Buchanan. He likes the name. He's got him confused with James Buchanan, our first gay president. But at any rate. Was it James Buchanan or Franklin Pierce? One of those two is a fact. So here's our poll for today. One moment, please. And the reason I'm taking this poll today is because of the story about the Rat Fest on the Feast Fest on the Survivor show. I'll wait till we get to that story about the PETA people. Do you see they were protesting? What is wrong with people? Protesting because they're going to eat roasted rat on that show. To survive. Don't people eat squirrel? Sure. Don't they eat like cats in certain places, which I don't want to mention? Here's our poll question today. How much would it take to get you to eat a roasted rat? I'll give you 5 choices. $1,000, $50,000, $100,000, $1 million, or the last choice, wouldn't do it at any price. I was asking Joe before the show started this morning, how much do you think it would take to get Rimmer to eat a roasted rat?
$8.
Yeah. That's what he said. How much would it take you to eat a roasted rat? $1,000, $50,000, $100,000, $1 million, or wouldn't do it for any price? And of course, I'm going to have to cast the first vote on that. I'm thinking about it. Doesn't it taste like chicken? Sure, everything tastes like chicken. Rat feast on Survivor TV show draws ire of animal rights group. How do you like that? They're pissed off and fired up, those rat huggers. Someone is speaking up for the beleaguered rats of Puauatiga. How do you pronounce that? Wherever these people are stranded? That island, that place. And how many demonstrators were out there?
8.
Yeah. Demonstrators from People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals One of them, dressed in a gigantic rat suit, protested outside of a CBS office Friday because the contestants on Survivor roasted rats and ate them. The protesters chanted, "Rats have rights, survive on veggies. Rats have rights." Do rats have rights?
No.
What a crap. Rats have rights. How about mosquitoes? Do mosquitoes have rights? Cockroaches? tsetse flies? Locusts? Hornets? Bees? Killer bees? They all have rights. You have people who think it's fun to trap rats, cut off their legs, skin them, and eat them, said Elian Smith of PETA. There's nothing funny about that. It's disgusting. The rodent dining experience was part of this week's episode of the adventure show Survivor, which has been a big hit for CBS. They left the S off the word hit, by the way. More than 23 million people watched on Wednesday, and another tribute to how bored, smitless the American public is. I mean, bored to tears. Hungry contestants have also speared fish for food. I hear Britney Spears. Smith was angry that Survivor cameras caught them laughing while the fish writhed in pain. Well, let me ask you this. Oh, they got a bunch of spear suckers on that island? Yeah, they better run like hell before they get eaten by them. No, but seriously, like, what do you think when your treble hook gets caught deep in the throat of that largemouth bass? Do you think maybe it's writhing in pain a little bit? Like this is something. How about the fish people? We got the rat people. How about those poor little fish that are writhing in pain and twisting the night away with a hook line? And how about the ones that get away and they still got the hook lodged in their gut and they just can't get out of their throat? Don't you hate when that happens? CBS spokesman Chris Ender said Survivor participants were instructed not to harm creatures indigenous to the Pacific Island, such as monkeys and lizards. Oh, gee, I can think of one monkey that a lot of people here would like to harm.
I'm a dancing monkey.
Yeah, that monkey. But at any rate, the rats were invaders from passing ships. They were not indigenous to the island. These were dirty rats. And by the way, James Cagney never said you dirty rat, but just keep assuming he did. Never said that. We have tremendous regard for PETA, Ender said. However, we truly believe our viewers recognize that hunting and fishing as a means of sustenance has been acceptable since the dawn of time. PETA members had urged the protest against CBS' archaic and barbaric promotion of animal cruelty, Smith said. If some PETA members had been invited as contestants, they could have instructed the others on ways to find food without killing animals, she said. People need to think about rats as they would about their cats and their dogs. Is there cats and dogs? Like she's lumping dogs and cats together? What a bitch. These rats may not be as cute and cuddly as a cat or dog, but they certainly suffer the same. See, when I lived in the Back Bay in Boston in the early 60s, 60 and 61, we had a real rat problem in Boston. I don't know if they still do or not, because they had dug up the Back Bay to build a Prudential Center, and there were these networks of tunnels underneath that was shocking that the rats had built, like their own city underground. And so there were rats all over at night. And since we'd park our cars behind the apartments there in the Back Bay, you'd go out to your car and there'd be like rats and they'd scurry and they'd get in the garbage pails. They would get in the garbage cans. And so you'd go like inside and you'd take like a broom or a baseball bat, whatever was laying around, and you whack the side of the can just to scare the hell out of them. And they would howl like a cat. And some of them were as big as a cat. They would howl. We never ate any, but we like to make them howl. See, people like to do nasty things to rats. Anybody remember Willard? Yeah. Did you see Willard? Oh, you never saw the movie Willard with Bruce Davison? Yeah. Where he, antisocial guy, kind of like turned on everybody and became friendly with the rats. He'd have gotten pissed if he found out they were eating rats on that Survivor show. But at any rate, that's what America's worried about. They're eating rats on CBS. That's something to be concerned about. Here's Boca, our first call of the week. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Neil.
Yes, I am.
You've given me a bunch of things to talk about, but the first thing...
Well, I haven't even started yet. I've only begun to squeal.
Well, very quickly, let me just get this out in the open.
Go right ahead.
I know that proper grammar is important to you.
No, it's not.
Well...
It ain't.
Yeah, it is. I got another lesson in Ebonics last week. I was listening to the Michael Jordan news conference.
News conference about what?
When he was welcoming Leonard Hamilton on board.
Oh, okay.
And there's a word that is being used. It's conversate. Michael Jordan said
conversate?
Yes.
What the hell is conversate?
Well, that's what I want to know.
Is that like when you put on Converse sneakers?
I think so. He said that he and Leonard had had a chance to conversate. And that, allowed him to get, the necessary information to make a...
In other words, they be talking. Is that what he's saying? They be talking?
I think so. I would just like to put this out to everybody listening. Please do not use that word.
There is no such word.
Exactly.
Well, maybe there is such a word. I doubt it.
I don't think so. But getting to the pigs, I'm sorry, not the pigs, the rats.
What's that thumping sound on your phone here? Is there something...
I hear that too.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Maybe I'm being bugged.
Maybe somebody's conversating. It sounds more like they're masturbating than conversating, like right in the middle of your
phone.
It does. Sounds like they're thumping on it. Anyway.
Let me wrap this up quickly.
Yeah.
First of all...
Before they finish.
Yeah.
Squirt?
Yeah, I don't think I could eat a rat. I just don't.
At any price?
I don't think
Even
so.
for $1 million?
Won't it kill you to eat rats? Aren't they diseased?
No. Well, I mean, yeah, they could be diseased. That's true. They could have rabbis.
I mean, how do you know, before you...
Well, how about the people that eat cats? Cats can have rabbis.
Yes, they can. Well, I lived out in...
And not only that, but how about you could have mad cow disease? Any animal that you eat could be diseased.
It can be. I was listening to your story about the rats up in Back Bay.
Yeah.
And I lived out in Wyoming for a while, and they had these things out there. They were huge rats, and they would get in the garbage at night, and they called them whistle pigs.
Mm-hmm.
They were, literally the size of, small dogs. It was crazy. But I just wanted to get the conversate word out and try to,
Okay, well, it's been nice conversating with you.
Later.
Have a great day. Oh, now, wait a minute. Now that sound is still on there. Where's that coming from? Oh, you know where that's coming from? Now, how do you like that? It was coming, I'm not going to say where it was coming from, because if I say something about this one, then this will disappear too, and I won't have any left. No, I'm not saying where it was coming from. It was just a glitch. We got the Tom Jicka thing, also made it in there today, or yesterday, Tom Jicka, the TV book. Got the story about that worker at the Catholic Church in Salem, Massachusetts, molesting hundreds of boys. Not just a few boys, not just one or two, hundreds of boys, ages 5 to 14. How do you like that? But at any rate, another isolated incident, of course.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 QAM.
Because your dad's Jewish.
I've had some shooters follow them this beer. I've been sitting at this bar all day. I'm getting so drunk I can feel my face. See the Cuervo coming, okay. Now I'm about to heat, it's coming up on me. Suddenly I'm hugging the phone. Don't remember eating that. Just the stuff I don't need to see. I guess I drink too much. It comes another gush. Damn, I can't believe all of that came out of me. And I'm about to heal. Just heal.
Hey, we got one of our little rats from back in those Panther rat days. Remember those great days? Scott Mellon being the rat and the whole deal and throwing all the rats on the ice and acting like a bunch of lunatics. Well, we got one of those little plastic rats, and Joe's thinking about it. Maybe we'll have that for lunch. I think we'll have Atlantic City subs instead. But at any rate, so far, 15 votes. I voted $1 million. See, I'd be a liar if I said to you that, and see, I probably should have said this before we started the poll. I don't think you have to, eat the whole rat. Now, one forkful, I don't think that would be enough either. But, a couple of forkfuls would make a good pretense, and then move on, barf your guts out like we just played that thing, and then move on to the next course, like the fried Siamese. $1 million, I would certainly do it. Wouldn't you do it for $1 million?
Heck yeah.
You bet.
I do it for 5,000.
We got 3 already who say they wouldn't do it at any price. Now, those must be people loaded with cash. They must be multimillionaires.
Liars.
Yeah, either that or they're just full of crap. See, when we do these surveys, they're anonymous. Why can't you at least be honest anonymously? Huh? We're just conversating with you here in an anonymous fashion. Why can't you just be more honest about it? Wouldn't do it for any price. I'm not buying it. 5 people, 50 grand. 3 would do it for just $1,000. Schleppers, desperate. Now, what would your price be? Grand?
5 grand, I'd do it.
How much?
Probably 5,000.
5 grand.
5 grand.
That's not on here. Wouldn't do it at any price. 3. Shut up. 100,000 2 and $1 million 2 so far. This is a great poll. This is one of the pressing issues of our times because it has to do with Survivor. And, of course, that's really hot right now for about 5 minutes. They're getting their 15 milliseconds of fame. I still say if they put some good-looking young people out there on the island doing a little hoochie-coochie, maybe a combination of Survivor and Road Rules on days when they finally had somebody who looks good on there, which is in the distant past, but nevertheless, these network people, even MTV doesn't get it. You know, they think they get it, but they don't. Like these shows that we watch here every day. I'm sure there must be one on now, and then we got that Cisco show coming up at 11 or noon, whatever. People on the beach. Well, people on the beach, young people on the beach with little clothes on, that's a good start, but hot-looking young people on the beach, that's what we want to see. Not a bunch of ugly Schwarzers. If you're going to put Schwarzers on it, well, I just said that for Robert Steinback's benefit, okay? Not a bunch of ugly Cubans. See, there you go. Just for Robert Steinback. Making a real nice living ripping Cubans and blacks. You know, Robert, you're so pathetic. This is the same guy who a couple of years ago, he was going to go on Waxy to do a talk show at night on Waxy 790 on that muddy station that sounds like it's coming through a pile of Schmidt. And he was really going to show you how to do a talk show. He was going to reinvent the whole talk show game. He was going to solve the problems of this community. He wasn't going to be rude and obnoxious. Blah, blah. He was on there for what, about 5 minutes? And that was the end of that show. See, your intentions are good, Robert, but does the word naive ring any bells with you, sweetheart? You can't go on the radio with some stupid-ass talk show and change the world. Take it from somebody who knows. So in Tom Jicka's TV radio column yesterday, in his questions and answers, Q&A, here's a question. Neil Rogers and Hank Goldberg are brilliant broadcasters. However, they are rude, arrogant, and impatient to callers who disagree with them. Sensitivity training could be in order. Why does WQAM allow this? R.A. in Pompano Beach asks. Tom says, allow it. Management encourages it. It keeps you tuned in, doesn't it? Sensitivity training could ruin their careers. There's nothing worse than a bland talk show. Well, maybe one thing, a bland Q&A column. Nice going there, Tom. And by the way, he's also got Tony Cigaretto's picture up there, and he sucks Tony's ass in his column. Like I said, Tom, nobody's perfect. Somebody says, how long can WTVJ Channel 6 continue to have Tony Cigaretto as an anchor? He has the personality of a mummy. He makes Jennifer Volpe and Jackie Nesbrow look bad. No wonder the ratings stink. Where have you gone, Ralph Rennick? To which Tom says, WTVJ and Tony Cigaretto probably have another 20 years or so together.
Boy!
You're entitled to your opinions, but I don't agree with any of them. By the way, WTVJ's ratings don't think, all things considered, they're pretty strong, says Tom. And by the way, going back to that thing about how brilliant Hank and I are and rude and arrogant, I'll give you a classic example. Friday, I had that broad called in the Detail Woman, the one that sells drugs, the pharmaceuticals to doctors, and gives me a song and a dance about, oh, doctors would never prescribe a drug that you don't need or that, yeah. All weekend long, I kept thinking about that, to show how boring it is here. All weekend, I kept thinking about that bitch and that call. Because I know we have a lot of detail people who listen to the show, like Little Joey and a lot of others, who sell drugs to doctors and give them the free trips and free TVs and everything else to induce them to peddle as much prescriptions as they possibly can. Because that's the business that they're in, sweetheart, you bitch. God, did that call piss me off. So for RA in Pompano Beach, which I think RA stands for like real assholes, that's what RA stands for. We're not only rude to people who deserve to be rooted to when we're conversating on them. That's right. That's the way it works. Wait till I get to this thing about the molestations in Salem, Massachusetts. That's a great story. Here's Fort Lauderdale. Hello.
Hey, Neil.
Yes, sir.
Robert Steinback's a total asshole.
Is he an asshole?
He's an
asshole. Yeah. Do you know him?
No, I read his column. I mean, I don't think he ever has a good column. He's way.
No. Over the years, in fact, during the whole Elian thing, he had a couple of columns in there that made some sense, and I read them on the air. I said, nice going, Robert. Never once did he acknowledge, which I don't expect anybody to acknowledge, but never mentioned my name before. But now all of a sudden, because I took a shot at a crappy column last week, now he takes a shot at me in his column yesterday. So obvious, so transparent.
Let me pose a question to you, Neil.
Yes.
If this Nathaniel Brazil kid was white, would you think that? Do you think he ever would have wrote that column?
Never would have even. That's what I said last Thursday. He never even would have written a column about it in the first place.
Well, to me, that's a total asshole.
Right.
I mean, he's very unobjective. That article pissed me off so bad that if I ran into the guy, I'd probably curse him out.
Would you?
Yeah. I mean, it was just disgusting.
Would you say, what kind of a dumb schwarzer are you? Would you say that?
I'd probably use. I mean, I'd probably say something worse.
What kind of an effing dumb schwarzer are you?
Probably worse.
What kind of an asshole are you?
Probably worse.
Okay.
Another thing is, I didn't listen last week, but it's good that those judges in Lauderdale made the right decision with the Swingers Club.
Not only good they made the right decision, but I think the taxpayers are going to start getting really, really tired of having their money wasted trying all of these the pleasure police going in there. Go arrest some real criminals and stop with the crap.
Exactly. I love you, Neil.
Amen. There he goes. Although Joe says you will find some hardened criminals in those swing clubs. He knows. Yeah. First-hand experience. Ford Defo there at the end doing the show solo all morning long on the worst team. Joe's back is given out. And, of course, Geldy, he's off on his honeymoon. Counting all the cash from that wedding. See, that thing with the wedding and the whole business, Joe and I were talking about that before the show this morning. I don't understand that. People are, I mean, when you work with somebody, unless you socialize with them, unless you're personally a friend, see, there are people you work with, but it doesn't mean that they're your personal friends. In fact, Hank was talking out loud about that last Thursday, and I'm thinking to myself, or for whatever day it was, yeah, you're absolutely right. Why should you buy him a wedding gift, and why should you show up at that wedding? Well, he was invited. I guess he felt he had to be there. But to serve him right, they sat him at the same table with Rimmer. How do you like that? And rumor has it that while Hank wasn't looking, Rimmer reached over and ate half of Hank's food, is what I'm hearing. That's the rumor. The Rimmer's rumor I'm just hearing. Don't I make a good point? Why would you show up at somebody's wedding if you're not their friend, just because you work with them?
Show face.
Show face? Is that mic real low or is it me? Huh?
How's that? Better?
A little bit better.
Show face.
Give face? So maybe some of the people who were at the wedding on Saturday were there to give Geldy good face. I don't know what they were there for. I don't understand. He's a good kid. I wish him all the best in the world. Did I give him a gift?
No.
No. I've never even had a goddamn peanut butter and jelly sandwich with him. Why would I go to his wedding? I wasn't invited in the first place because he knew I wouldn't show up. If he thought I would show up, he would have invited me because he knew he'd probably embarrass me into a big gift. Would I have gone?
No.
My husband was an overachiever.
Hi, honey. Guess what I did today?
He even learned French in 2 hours.
Je sois ton amour, mon chéri, je le dois.
That is, until I got him hooked on Barney.
Honey, where's the chips?
Ever since I got him hooked on Barnhead, he hasn't left the easy chair once. He's become a total slob. Oh, and foreign languages?
Honey.
Just call 1-800-BONGHIT to get hooked on Bonghead. You'll be glad you did. Besides, now I'm the overachiever. Honey, I walked to the mailbox today.
Cool.
Getting my husband hooked on Bonghead works for me.
Here's a fact that says, I have a friend who's a doctor in Cambodia where many people eat rat. However, they draw the line at city rat versus country rat. Country rat being the preferred cuisine, with city rat being considered inferior. Now, what's going to happen with CBS if these rats turn out to have rabbis? Huh? How are they going to know? Are they going to test them for disease before these people eat them? Of course not. They're going to catch them. They're going to stick them on the thing. They're going to roast them on the spit or whatever the hell how they roast them over the fire, and they're going to eat them. Wouldn't that be something if CBS with this big bonanza of theirs that they're having with a Survivor piece of crap winds up getting sued for millions and millions because a bunch of people got really sick or maybe died from eating poison rat? Or maybe start running around like in a rabid condition when they start conversating with each other. I think after just playing that thing would be a good time to debut the Beast and his new smash hit, our very own Beast.
This one, to let all you people know how a stoner feels. You know, real high. Actually, half the brownies. Look at that pot, so glorious, and the agent I was curious, so I asked my mom for some cannabis, smoke before school on the bus. Tell my friends to love the pot, every day, every night, we just can't stop. One day we even choked up with the top. Go get a big fat hookah, say I plant my seeds, for my weed, and shit we're free. Gonna run again, say I plant my seeds, for my weed, for my bong. Let me smoke that bong.
Alright.
Baby, that bong. I love it when I smoke the bong. just like Cheech and Chong. Yeah, yeah. That bong, the bong, bong, bong. Look at that pot, so glorious. At the age of 9, I was curious, so I asked my mom for some cannabis. She smoked before schooling on the bus. Got my friends that love the pot. Every day in and out, just can't stop. One day we eating soaked up with the cop. Smoking a big fat hookah. They plant my seeds, for my weed. Weed, this we're free. Gonna roll it again. Say I plant my seeds, for my weed, for my bong. Let me smoke that bong, baby. That bong, the bong, bong, bong. I love when I smoke the bong, just like Cheech and Chong. Yeah, yeah. That bong, the bong, bong, bong. Hey, Jimmy, man. Yeah, pass that right over here. Oh, yeah. That's so good.
Recorded live on the job here in the studio by the Beast. Let's hear it. Number 1 with 2 bullets. Nice going, Beast. I'm telling you, he won't be here long. He's moving on up to the big time now. Any minute. You can smell it. Look at these phones here this morning, boy. This is, of course, a Monday in the middle of the summertime, and you wonder why I'm getting the hell out of here for 2.5 months? What about the people like over the West Coast in Fort Myers and Port Charlotte and all those other glacier places? You think they go somewhere in the summer? Nah, where the hell are they going to go? Maybe they move up to, like, Venice. Not Italy, Florida, Englewood, like the guy called on Friday. Here's Hallandale. Hello.
Hey, Neil.
Yes, sir.
Stuck here for the summer.
Sorry.
I'm surprised you don't like that show, though.
Well, what's there to like about it?
All right, I kind of get into it.
But why? What's there to like?
Well, I figured you get into the road and what you guys usually do.
Yeah. You guys. See what I'm saying? The people that are watching that show desperate. He can't even give me a real reason why he likes it. They don't have any gerbils on that show, sorry. People in Hallandale, I guess you have to find a new show. Something a little older. Here's the Mobile in Coral Gables. Hello.
Yeah, this is Bill. Neil.
What are you screaming about, Bill?
I hate to change the subject on you.
What?
I hate to change the subject.
Yeah.
But I got my telephone bill yesterday.
Yeah.
You have to be a CPA or a goddamn lawyer.
Yeah, well, Bill, let me say this to you, Bill. Just pay the damn thing and quit your belly aching, okay? Nobody wants to hear some old fart, 110 years old, belly aching about your goddamn phone bill. Do we care about Bill's phone bill? No, we don't care about yours. Just pay it and don't worry about it. God, how many times have I told you the things that people like, the PETA people, that are all worried about rat rights? Little kids are shooting their teachers, punks are going nuts in the streets, and we're worried about the rights of rats and this guy's goddamn phone bill. Thank God we got our priorities, our heads on straight. 81 people have voted so far. How much would it take you to eat a roasted rat? $50,000, 24. Say, loan me $50,000. 24, say $50,000. 18, they'll do it for just $1,000. Desperate. 60, I should have probably started with $50. $100,000, 16 people said that, and $1 million, 15. 15 people are that pushy like me. It would take $1 million to eat roasted rat. And 8 people are liars. They say we wouldn't do it at any price. You know something? That's crap. Everybody has their price. Everybody has their price. Like, how much would it take you to have sex with Al Goldstein? Huh? See, now you're shaking your head.
Asking that?
Yes, yes, I am. I'm asking that question.
There's no price.
Now, in my case, there is no price. I would not touch him with your hand. I wouldn't get that close.
I have a good life now. I don't make tons of money, but
$50 million.
No.
To have sex with Al Goldstein. Just for him to do you, not for you to reciprocate.
No freaking way.
$100 million.
No freaking way. You're wasting your time.
$1 billion.
I have a nice house. I have a jacuzzi. I'm very happy.
$1 billion.
What's the point? No. No.
How about if you had like a mask on?
You're barking up the wrong tree.
Okay. No, I can relate. I understand because the thought of it is rather, how about Ron Jeremy? Oh, same difference. Here's a lady mobile in Homestead. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 15 million. Where do I sign up?
Yeah, exactly.
Either one of them. I don't care.
Here's our first honest person of the day.
Okay, let me talk about the rat thing. I've never watched that show. I have no interest. But I do work at a wildlife rehabilitation center where we work with birds of prey and we feed out rats and bunnies and you know, the occasional hamster or whatever shows up. And it really is funny to me. I don't think it would, I'd do it for 1,000. I mean, depending on how hungry I was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, yeah, they're probably diseased, but I think a lot of the cows and chickens we eat are diseased.
You know something, I was just going to say that it's amazing how brainwashed we become. If you ever see on TV when they show the exposés about the meatpacking places and they show all that grotesque and they're scraping the stuff off the carcass and it's falling on the floor and bloody, and you say to yourself, I'll never eat meat again. And that lasts about one day, and then the next day you go out and get your hamburger or your steak.
They say that reptiles have salmonella, but I got news for you. They feed chicken parts to reptiles. That's where the salmonella is, in the chicken parts.
In the chicken, oh yeah.
Sure.
Watch out for those chickens.
Yeah, you remember the movie Interview with a Vampire?
No.
Okay, there was a scene in there where Tom Cruise sliced the neck of a rat and poured the blood into a glass and gave it to Brad Pitt to drink.
Mm-hmm.
And the people we had a wildlife center movie day, and we went to see this movie, and we were laughing hysterically, and people were retching all over the theater. Of course, we're sick and twisted, but, you know, I can't see getting upset. I mean, a guy in a giant rat suit?
Yeah.
That's pushing it a little. PETA.
People for the ethical treatment of rats. We want ethical treatment for rats, mosquitoes, tsetse flies.
You can't get ethical treatment of people. I can't see ethical treatment of animals.
Yeah, but we don't have any such organization.
That's true.
You better get your priorities straight.
I know.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Check's in the mail. Yeah, see, she's honest. She'd do it for $5 million. She'd screw out Goldstein for like $50,000, I guess. Yeah, you know, these people, and like I said, we're brainwashed, including me. We're all conditioned to it. Oh, nice juicy steak. I love a great steak. I love a great cheeseburger. How can you not like cheeseburger? How can you not like it? Just don't show us what went into bringing it to that condition that it reached us, okay? Don't show us anything that happened before. Same with the chickens. Nice chicken breast. Oh, sauteed chicken breast with some good crap on it, you know. Delish. Melts in your mouth. Along with the salmonella and all the other disease crap you're putting in there. Here's Aventura. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Neil?
Okay, sir.
I don't understand these people with PETA. How can they know what an animal is thinking?
Yeah.
I personally, if I was hungry enough, I would eat the rat.
Yeah, sure.
Out of necessity to survive.
Now, how about a little mouse? Not a little mouse. You wouldn't kill a mouse.
Well, there wouldn't be enough there to feed a person.
Yeah,
proper.
maybe just for a snack.
Yes.
Appetizer.
Right. But if I was in need, yes, I would eat a roasted rat.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I was going with you on vacation. You have a good time.
Okay, thanks. How about the people that eat venison, for example? And I'm always busting their balls about going out and shooting Bambi, you know, killing a nice little deer. I mean, how could you kill a deer? Look how cute it is. But the fact is that since the beginning of time, man has been killing animals. The Neanderthal men, they ate mostly meat. Meat. They ate it raw. And here we are, all these years later, and there we still got people out there eating it raw. How about like, what do they call that stuff? That
beefalo.
No, not beefalo. I'm talking about when you that raw meat. What do they call that stuff?
Not sushi.
No, not sushi. That's don't even get me started with that. No, meat that's like uncooked. That it's like almost raw. They slice it real thin.
I don't know.
God, how can you do that? How can you be doing that? I'm just conversating with you about that. It's amazing the things that people will put in their mouths. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Here's Pompano. Hello.
Neil.
Look at Tom Green, for example. Yes, sir.
Speaking of Al Goldstein and Ron Jeremy, did you see the thing on E! last night with the John Holmes story?
No.
They had a whole thing about...
Is he still dead, by the way?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know
still
if
dead.
he's in another country, but I thought it was pretty interesting. He actually was hanging out down in Miami Beach there for some time, I guess, with...
down to his ankles is what I'm hearing.
Little 15-year-old tramp that he was running around with. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. But anyway, I thought it was pretty interesting, the whole thing, and I guess he wasn't involved in the murders, but he was kind of set the whole thing up. So whatever, for what it's worth.
Well, he's dead now, so I guess that'll teach him a lesson.
We all move up a notch.
Exactly.
All right.
Thanks. By the way, speaking of moving up a notch against the scum of the earth, Salem, Massachusetts Calling it possibly the largest single child abuse case in Massachusetts history, Essex District Attorney Kevin Burke said yesterday a Middleton man who has worked with youths at a Catholic church and a YMCA may have molested as many as 250 boys in communities north of Boston. Christopher Reardon. Why do they always have names like that, you know? Christopher Reardon, 28, a member of a well-known Middleton family, was arraigned this week on charges of molesting 2 boys.
There's no fact in the church.
The case has expanded dramatically since then, Burke said, although Reardon has not been charged with any additional crimes yet. Reardon's lawyer refused to comment on the allegations but accused Burke of inflaming emotions in the case. Burke said that while searching Reardon's home this week, investigators found a list of 250 names of boys ranging in ages from 5 to 14. Burke said that notes were found next to most of the names, offering detailed descriptions of the children's genitalia and how Reardon had allegedly molested them. In addition, Burke said police found a video at the suspect's home showing Reardon and one of his alleged victims masturbating. The district attorney said the tape was recorded using a camera in the ceiling of the rectory of St. Agnes Church in Middleton, where Reardon was youth ministries coordinator. The scope of the case has increased so much with the discovery of the list that investigators have asked concerned parents to call a toll-free state police hotline and attend a meeting Tuesday to talk about whether their child may have been molested. How do you like that?
There's no fact in the church.
Another isolated incident that we just mentioned in passing the course. Like Lee J. Cobb said in The Exorcist, I just mentioned it in passing, Father Paranoia. God, was that a great movie or what, huh? Lee J. Cobb, was he great? He was great. You see The Exorcist, of course?
Of course.
Okay. Just checking. Oh, look at that. The NASDAQ's in positive territory. You know what that means, boys and girls? Time to call your broker and buy. Yeah.
Steak tartare.
Steak tartare. Thank you, whoever called in with that information. Steak tartare. I'm sorry, we ought to do a poll on that. Which is the most disgusting? Head cheese, steak tartare, or sushi? Which makes you start gagging and puking the fastest? Oh, sushi. Just to look at it. First of all, I don't like fish to begin with, even cooked fish. But just to look at sushi with it looks like there's like eyeballs staring back at you in there. I mean, well, what is that?
Eggs.
Ugh. Well, people do eat caviar with their nose way up in the air. They think like it's so great eating caviar. Ugh. Remember that baseball guy with a Dodgers preacher row? Yeah, my mind is sick or what? I'm sick. I'm a sick guy.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 WQAM Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
It's Dave in Miami town at 560 WQAM.
Because they're a bunch of assholes.
Oh, can't you see that they're fake? They don't slither, they don't even shake. I don't know why some people will stare at a rubbery pair. Now don't you know, or do you care, that what's turning you on down there is manufactured by Dow, the makers of morning wear. Now don't you know that they're not real, unless it's so it's called you like to feel. Like the tires on your car, they feel the same. They're still up down the golden boom, or filled with toxic liquid goo. It's Thermotex that makes those rubber booty bumpers in play. Some guys say that they like it that way, but I just can't understand why they like films made by rubber base and buy products from the air. I don't care what others say. I can't stand it when they look that way. They're way too hard in the ugly saw. Don't get me off. I don't mind if they hang down, as long as I can fit them in my mouth. And when I chop a pin, I want my hand on something soft. And when I chop a pin, I want my hand on something soft.
I play the tuba.
All right.
Be on the honor roll.
That ain't surprising, because in Florida, food ain't no problem at all. This be my tuba, this be my gut, but tubas don't make you dead. I killed my teacher, it was an accident, I bust the cap in his head.
What are we going to do about that poor 13-year-old honor student, huh? Yeah, we need to give him some more alternatives, huh? Yeah, like which hand are we going to pull the switch with? Sounds good to me. Where would he like the injection? Maybe in his...
Rectum.
Yeah, the lethal injection right in his ass. So anyway, steak carpaccio of beef, of course, is, if you've been to Italy or if you've been to a good Italian restaurant, real, I don't think it's raw, though, is it? No. Well, maybe. Real thin slices of beef, close to raw, or maybe actually raw. I've had that, and it's pretty good. Steak tartare, however you say, is ground beef that's raw? Oh.
Roy!
Huh?
One person said ground, one person said chopped.
Chopped?
I don't care.
Here's a mobile in the Keys. Hello.
$50 I'd eat a rat.
Would you?
No, that's too high. $1,000 is the lowest one. $50 I'm chowing down. You know lobster is the rat of the sea, don't you?
Is lobster's a rat of the sea?
Absolutely. It crawls around and eats anything that's at the bottom.
That's right. It's a grazer. It's like a catfish.
Disgusting.
People do eat catfish, and everybody knows catfish are like bottom feeders, right?
They're nasty.
Yeah.
Hey, Neil, keep it up and the good work, too.
Okay,
Love you.
thanks. Yeah, people eat catfish. In fact, like in Louisiana. Maybe that's why they're so dumb in Louisiana, because they eat too many catfish. Those bottom feeders. You know what catfish eat, don't you? I don't want to say Schmidt on the air. That's what they eat. Yeah, you can always keep your aquarium nice and clean if you have a whole bunch of catfish in there. They just go around the edges and down along the bottom, and they eat anything. Kind of like Rimmer, as long as it's free. Here's Chicago. Hello.
Neil.
Yes, sir.
Down in Guatemala at Tikal National Park, I was there a couple of years ago, and we went to a restaurant in a little town where the airstrip was, and we had these tacos. And the tacos, I looked at the meat, and it was kind of brown. It wasn't like chicken. They said it was chicken. Turned out they use rat extensively down there.
Mm.
And
what, it tasted like chicken?
Tasted just like chicken.
What did I tell you?
It wasn't bad at all. And after I tossed when I left the place, you know.
Yeah.
My wife ate it, and the two people we were with ate it, and no problem at all. I mean, down there, you know, they said it was chicken, so I'm thinking, I'm looking around. There isn't a chicken within 100 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So they use it extensively down there, and it was, as long as I didn't see it cut up and filleted, it was fine. So, you know, what are you going to do? You take care, buddy.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
How about...
Oh, rat again! Yeah, we eat rat every day! Rat? Ow! My track marks itch. Shut up and skin that rat!
Wait a minute. There is another way. Rat-o-Roni.
Rat-o-Roni?
That's right, Rat-o-Roni, the Chicago ghetto treat.
Kids, rats on.
Mommy, this rat is good.
Yeah, bitch, you done real good. Pass the crack pipe. Rat-o-Roni, the Chicago ghetto treat.
How stoned do you have to be to eat it? That's the obvious question. Of course, a lot of guys have asked that before. How stoned do you have to be before you put this in your mouth? 135 people already have cast their votes on this rat thing. $50,000 seems to be the winner so far. 40 say they would do it. That's almost 30%. For 50 grand, they would eat a roasted rat. They didn't say with or without relish. $1,000, 27, which is tied with $1 million. How do you now look at that? Does that show you how dumb the $1,000 people are? I don't want to say that any of you people are a little bit dumb, but for crying out loud, 27 of us said for $1 million and 27 said for $1,000. See, you're selling yourselves short. Selling yourself short. Don't take the smaller amount. Take the bigger amount, okay? 100 grand, 22 people said that, and we got 19 people who are full of it. Either full of it or loaded with cash. 19 people say they wouldn't do it at any price. 14%, 1 out of 7. They wouldn't eat roasted rat no matter how much you paid them. These are probably the same people that have eaten like chocolate-covered ants and didn't know it. How about chocolate-covered ants? Would you eat that?
Yeah, I'd try it.
Sure. In fact, what other kind of insects do they have? Caterpillars. Don't people eat like roasted caterpillars?
Grasshoppers, I thought.
Grasshoppers. That's another good one. Chocolate-covered grasshoppers. And there's some people that they don't cover them with like chocolate, but when you come right down to it, almost anything in chocolate is pretty good. Huh? How about covering that in chocolate and trying that?
Chocolate-covered cockroaches, Tommy says he's had.
Tommy has eaten. Oh, is that our Tommy or is that Tom Green? I'm sure Tom Green has eaten them because he'll eat anything.
Well, he says he hasn't eaten it. He just knows of it.
Well, don't get hostile with us about it. Jesus Christ, come in. Just calm down, Tommy. Yeah, we believe you. Oh, that's why he looks like that. So emaciated. He's on a diet of, what is it? Chocolate-covered what? Squirrel? Now, people do eat squirrel with no problem at all. People live out in the country. They go out and shoot a nice, cute little squirrel. And talk about rabbis, man. Those things are loaded with disease. Squirrels. I would think a squirrel might be equally... in fact, a squirrel is just a rat with a tail when you come right down to it with a big bushy tail.
They're much cuter.
But they are a lot cuter. That's correct. Here's Hialeah, where they have a lot of rats. Hello.
Hello, Neil?
One of them is a mayor. Yes, sir.
Yeah, do you know that steak tartare spelled backward is rat?
Okay. Here's Plantation. Hello. And back to you. Evidently, the lunch is coming back up on him. Here's Hollywood. Hello.
Hey, Neil.
Yes, sir.
A couple of years ago, I couldn't sleep. I got up about 2 o'clock in the morning. I turned on the TV and they got a documentary on there in black and white with no sound except the actual sounds of a slaughterhouse in New Jersey.
Oh, nice.
I want to tell you
How
something.
much did it take?
If you ever want to stop eating meat, you watch something like this. They got the cattle walking up the gangplank.
Oh.
They electrocute them.
Yeah.
They put a chain around their neck, drag them up while they're still semi-alive.
Oh.
They split them down with a chainsaw. All this crap falls out. Some of them are full of boils and cancer and tumors. And that stuff all gets mixed in.
Yeah.
You're eating all of that stuff.
I know.
And then at the end of the day, they show these guys with these huge brooms. They're sweeping up the floor.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They make baloney out of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's all in the marketing. They can market dog crap, and we'd eat it.
And can you imagine what's in the hot dog? The stuff that's not even good enough to go in the bologna goes in the wieners.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what you're going to be eating over in Copenhagen, but I hope it's better than what you're eating here.
Okay, thanks. Or how about Amsterdam? You know something? I think this guy convinced me. I'm going off meat. After lunch today. That's it.
How are you going to do Atkins without eating meat?
Who said, what's with the Atkins?
I thought you've been doing
I've been doing Atkins as much as I can. I'm doing pretty well. But too much meat. Although the Neanderthal men ate meat, and look how they... See, but back in those days, there wasn't any cancer. There weren't all these diseases running around. Back when the Neanderthal men were eating the meat. That was before when God decided to give us all these diseases and, like mad cow disease, stuff like that.
Hi, this is Larry King, and they don't come any better than Neil Rogers.
There was an old farmer who lived on a rock. He sat in the meadow just shaking his fist at some boys who were down by the creek. Their feet in the water, their hands on their marbles and playthings, and at 4:30 there came a young lady. She looked like a pretty young creature. She sat on the grass. She pulled up her dress and she showed them her ruffles and laces and white fluffy duck. She said she was learning a new way to bring up her children so they would not spit, while the boys in the barnyard were shoveling refuse and litter from yesterday's hunt, while the girl in the meadow was rubbing her eyes at the fellow down by the dock. He looked like a man with a sizable home in the country with a big fence out front. If he asked her politely, she'd show him her little pet dog who was subject to fits. And maybe she'd let him grab hold of her small tender hands with a movement so quick. And then she'd bend over and suck on his candy so tasty made of butterscotch. And then he'd spread whipped cream all over her cookies that she had left out on her shelf. If you think this is dirty, you can go yourself.
Another
Hey, yo, man, what's up with your forgotten
sun's shining. I'm in bed with my wife, and all I need to make it perfect is some delicious cider from old Farmer Peckerin. Farmer Peckerin cider is the finest anywhere. In fact, I try to have my Peckerin cider every morning. Although having some Peckerin cider in the afternoon is always a nice treat, too. Sometimes I add my favorite liquor to it, and I can have some hard Peckerin cider. That's nice. So, if you're looking for that special something, why not get some Peckerin cider for yourself?
Howdy! Hi, I'm Spike, and you know, when I'm driving down Route 9W on a hot summer day, me and the missus always stop at Dickens Fruit Stand. They've got everything from fruit to vegetables, homemade pies, but there is nothing like their cider. Ain't that right, honey? Dickens cider. Yes, sirree. Why, even though we were late for church last Sunday, she had to have a little Dickens cider. She says there ain't nothing like it. Even my minister says his wife enjoys a little Dickens cider now and then. Hey, why don't you bring some home in our protective plastic red bottle? That way it'll stay fresh. Or you can let it sit a while and have some hard Dickens cider. It's good at lunch, good at dinner, and there's nothing like waking up with a Dickens cider. Dickens Fruit Stand, just off Route 9W and Country Road 69. Open 24 hours, because after a chilly summer night, I like to snuggle up in bed with a hot Dickens cider.
Well, that might be a good poll question one day next week. Don't let me forget. What do you like? What do you prefer better, Peckerin cider or Dickens cider? So Tom Jicker writes on page 21A in the Sun Sentinel this morning, headline is Castro could teach local TV a thing or two. Tom says Fidel Castro might be a despicable person and an ineffectual leader, but he's a better news director than the people making the calls in the Miami-Fort Lauderdale TV market. It took an ingenious gambit by the Cuban tyrant to force the local TV stations to acknowledge that there is another side to the Elian Gonzalez controversy. Since the star-crossed youngster was rescued at sea on Thanksgiving Day, the rhetoric on newscasts has been couched in the inflammatory black and white of whether the boy stays in the U.S. or is returned to his communist homeland. This makes it easier to pander to a sliver of the audience. It's not so easy when the second alternative presented is Elian being reunited with his father. Until Castro trumped a militant segment of the exile community late Wednesday night by announcing that Elian's father was willing to come to the U.S. to pick up his son, the local TV stations were conducting business as usual. Lori Jennings opened Channel 7's late newscast by trumpeting thousands of Cubans rallying along Calle Ocho in a massive show of support for Elian Gonzalez. Since when do you show support for a child? By demonstrating against him being with his father. Diana Diaz said the people in the streets were hoping Elian would be able to stay in the loving arms of his Miami family. That would be cousins, aunts, and uncles, which Diaz apparently has some way of knowing are more loving than the arms of a father. Julia Yarborough of Channel 6 put it more accurately, perhaps unintentionally, when she said the crowd was expressing faith that the dispute would end the way they wanted it to end. Isn't that what this is really all about? In any case, today's really big story was treated as an afterthought. It wasn't what was happening on Southwest 8th Street at the headquarters of INS in Washington or Havana. It was the outrageous defiance of more than 20 mayors led by Miami-Dade Mayor Alex Pinga Pequeña, who declared they would ignore the oaths of office to uphold the law of the land. This was no different than the George Wallace standing in the schoolhouse doorway because he knew it would be politically expedient to take a stand against integration. In effect, the mayors were giving tacit permission for hooligans to react violently to any decision with which they didn't agree. This spurred WPBT Channel 5, which has the comfort of watching the shenanigans from a distance, to launch a poll on Thursday night asking its viewers whether federal troops should be sent in to keep order in Dade County. Of course, this isn't how it was presented on most TV newscasts. Angela Ray, crazy Angela Ray of WFOR Channel 4, was typical in describing the mayor's stand as a show of solidarity. For what, anarchy? Even though there was footage of the President of the U.S. gently scolding Pinellas, a fellow Democrat, only WTVJ aggressively went after the dereliction of duty angle. Tony Segreto led into the element of the story by pointing out the harsh criticism Pinellas was facing outside Miami, and Ike Siemens pursued a follow-up interview in which Pinellas, no longer playing to a crowd, backed off slightly from his belligerence. WTVJ's bravado when taking on this aspect of the story could have been fortified by a poll the station conducted in which 65% of the respondents said the INS was correct in issuing an ultimatum to Elian's Miami Guardians. A similar poll on WFOR showed a smaller majority, 51%, expressing similar feelings. In light of these opinions of the audience as a whole, as opposed to a small coterie of strident voices, it's astonishing that the TV stations continue to tilt the reporting as much as they do. It's also revealing that not one anchor or correspondent on any station noted the irony of Castro's new position. In announcing that Elian's father would be allowed to come to the U.S., the Cuban president indicated that Elian's Cuban family would stay in America until U.S. courts issued a final decision. In other words, the vile dictator declared a willingness to abide by the laws of our land. This is something local politicians and those harboring Elian have refused to do. It would be interesting paradox for TV correspondents to oppose to Pinellas and Elian's relatives. It won't be, of course, because there's no upside. There are no Nielsen meters in Castro's household. Nice going there, Tom Jicka. Oh! Yeah. How do you like that? So you have to really look. You have to search, get a search party to find beside Neil Rogers on this radio station and Tom Jicka and maybe one or two other people in this town who got the balls to be publicly, to publicly express their revulsion and disgust with what happened a couple of days ago with Mayor Pinga Pequeña. And unfortunately, the INS, federal government, they keep dragging their feet, and they had their meeting again yesterday, and now because of scheduling problems, maybe they have some leftover Hamantash from Purim that they're getting together to eat. They have to wait until Monday morning, and so now the paroles have been extended till 9 o'clock Tuesday morning, and it goes on. But at least a peaceful weekend anyway. Thanks.
Neil God!
To Neil God. A peaceful weekend. Now, Enrique Fernandez's column, which is right about Tom Jicka's exile reaction, must be taken in context. No, unacceptable. There's always an excuse for the inexcusable. And the business about being passionate, every ethnic group in this country is passionate about something. Every religious group, every atheist group, every group is passionate about something. That doesn't excuse their refusal to obey the law or try to make up their own rules as they go along. And at the end of this obnoxious article, Enrique Fernandez says, Little Havana is not a community of flag burners or draft dodgers, but Cuban Americans retain a passionate loyalty to Cuba, one that, except in cases like this, they feel is never in conflict with their American royalty. Well, guess what? Loyalty. Guess what? Wrong. Unless, of course, he means by cases like this, the stuff that happens every couple of weeks with Los Van Van and the incident with the Coast Guard and on and on. It never, ever ends. And don't play that Comunista music. Stop it. Except in cases like this, which they decide as they go along. When we wanted to have the goddamn the Junior Olympics here, whatever the hell it was, whatever they call that crap, the Pan American Games. No, we can't have that. When we wanted to have the goddamn Latin Grammys here, can't have that here. I have to move it to L.A. because we got Cuban performers in it, like that crap that you were just going to play. Don't do it. Enrique Fernandez goes on to say, Cuba, and now I will take the liberty of speaking in the first person plural, is our mother. Your mama. The U.S. has adopted us. The latter we will defend to the death. The former may be the death of us, but our love for it is a fire that no one and nothing can put out. As if that has anything to do with what's going on here, with obeying the law, and with holding an entire county hostage. And by the way, the editorial, as good as it was, the editorial in the Sun Sentinel was very much in error in one respect. And that is this business that the federal government is provoking the community to such an extent, et cetera, and so on, that will have violence. Guess what? That's baloney. That's garbage. That's caca. The federal government, this happened in Thanksgiving that he came here. It is now the last day of March, December, January, February, March, 4 months plus that this saga has been playing out. And now they even extended again until Tuesday morning so they can continue their dialogue trying to convince Lazaro and his 85 attorneys and his 42 spokespeople that maybe they should cooperate and go along with the way that the Justice Department wants to implement the law. So this crap, it's just an excuse. Well, we're unhappy with this, so therefore we're going to go out and do a crazy thing. Did you see the thing with the dump truck drivers? Yeah, they're threatening to dump gravel on the roads to block off the roads. Gravity. Yeah, they're going to dump gravel. That's beautiful. We're pissed off and we don't care about all the rest of you. Well, that's nothing new. We're used to that. That's why most of us with a brain live in Broward if we can. But you know something? Here is an article. I apologize for reading so much today, but there's just so much good material here that most of you aren't going to read, and you do need to hear. This article here, and I tie this right in with Enrique Fernandez's article, who's trying to make excuses. You see, you're dealing with a group of crazy people. That's what it is, crazy people. And if you need proof of that, wait till you hear this. This is buried a little further inside by Meg Laughlin in the Herald. Religious symbolism linked to Elian reaches new high. And here's a picture on the front door of the little Havana home where Elian lives with his relatives. A poster reflects the fear on the street of Santeria designs on the boy. And it says, Elian conoció a Cristo, otros la niegan. Am I pronouncing that right? Nice going. And here's a picture of Elian with the baby Jesus, or whatever the hell it is. In Spanish, the words read, Elian knows Christ, the others don't. Alberto Davila, a neighbor of Elian's relatives, say the others are people in Cuba who believe in Santeria. Religious symbolism linked to Elian reaches new highs, the headline in this article. This is the best. God is on our side. That was the message Wednesday night at the huge prayer vigil in Little Havana, where the increasing religious mythology and fervor surrounding Elian Gonzalez reached a new high as local Catholic priest and an auxiliary bishop likened the 6-year-old child to Jesus. In Cuba, some people have made Elian a symbol of the new Che Guevara, so it's not unusual that some people in Miami are seeing him as the new Christ, said the Reverend Gustavo Miares of Immaculate Conception Church in Hialeah, who was one of the organizers of the prayer vigil. The tendency to turn the political controversy surrounding the child into religious symbolism began 4 months ago when the boy was plucked from the sea by fishermen. An unconfirmed tale said dolphins circled around him, keeping him safe. This miraculous story paved the way for religious comparisons. Some compared the child's rescue to the tale of the drowning fisherman saved by La Caridad del Cobre, the Virgin of Charity, the patron saint of Cuba. Others likened the first grader to Moses, believing he was put upon the roiling waters by his mother and rescued so that he could eventually return to Cuba and lead his people just as Moses did. Remember that expression, mad as Moses? Remember that one?
Uh-huh.
The religious fervor surrounding the child was further buoyed by talk on the street that Fidel Castro must have the child to meet some conditions of his Santeria beliefs. This rumor, sir, I'm going to do the break because I got to come back to that. It's too long. I don't want to interrupt myself once I get going with this part. This is the best. Strap yourselves in real tight and just start making gurgling sounds. And look around you. Maybe the Virgin Mirror is on the window. Maybe she's on a mirror. Maybe she's sitting on the toilet seat right now, the Virgin Mary.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 QAM.
It's Steve in Miami town at 560 WQAM.
Tired of the same old restaurants? Try the Cafeteria Santeria of Hialeah.
How much is that doggy on the menu? The one with the barbecue tail. How much is that doggy on the menu? I'm sure glad the chef's out of jail.
That's right. No matter what the weather's like outside, it's always raining cats and dogs at the Cafeteria Santeria of Hialeah. We'll make your stomach stop growling and make your neighbor's pit bull stop doing the same thing. Talk about delicious. Your meal is always fresh. We kill it right on the premises. For a heavenly meal at a sacrifice price, it's the Cafeteria Santeria. Try it once. You'll eat there religiously.
How much is that doggy on the menu? The one that is fried in deep fat. Please bring me that doggy on the menu. And bring a side order of cat.
Walk, run, or catch a greyhound for the Cafeteria Santeria of Hialeah, where we give new meaning to the word pet food.
So anyway, I got a great fax, by the way, from a guy named Gonzalez, a Cuban guy who's very irate, but I'll get to that in a minute. Getting back to this brilliant article, it says the religious fervor surrounding the child was further buoyed by talk on the street that Fidel Castro must have the child to meet some conditions of his Santeria beliefs. This rumor surfaced after Sister Jeannie O'Loughlin, host of The Boy and His Grandmothers in late January, was given a note by Lazaro Gonzalez, the boy's great-uncle, who asked her to pass it on to the grandmothers. O'Loughlin, who said she forgot to pass the note on, found it in her pocket after Lazaro, Elian, and the grandmothers had left her house. I was shocked by what it said, O'Loughlin said. The great-uncle believed Castro would make a witchcraft sacrifice of Elian, and I became very worried about this. O'Loughlin said her reversal of her neutral stance was partially provoked by the note, and she told the attorneys for the Miami family about it. Meanwhile, rumors spread on the street that the child would become Castro's Santeria sacrifice. You starting to piece all this together now? A little bit better? Yeah. According to the most repeated rumor, a Santeria priestess had warned Castro that he would be overthrown by a child saved by dolphins at sea. Castro, therefore, had to get the child back in order to defuse the boy's potential power. The Santeria rumors are ridiculous. The child was baptized as a Catholic in Cuba before he ever got here. He'll not go back and become something different, said Joan Brown Campbell of the National Council of Churches, who accompanied Elian's grandmothers when they visited him. But the belief that the Savior child can only be saved from the underworld if he stays in Miami continues to rage on the streets. See, that's what we're talking about, Enrique Fernandez. We're talking about crazy people rubbing their rosary beads and forming the human cross and shining the flashlights up in the sky. That's what we're talking about, crazy green-toothed people. Last week, an oily smudge appeared on a bank window near the Little Havana home where the child lives with his Miami relatives. People gathered around it, some weeping and calling it an apparition of the Virgin Mary, who was showing herself, they believed, in support of the cause to keep Elian in Miami. Then a few days later, the apparition moved closer to home when a spot appeared on a mirror in the bedroom where the child sleeps, its shape resembling the Virgin of Guadalupe, who is said to have shown herself to a Mexican peasant more than 400 years ago. Outside the house, believers waved signs in Espanol to promote the idea that the Elian saga is religious at its core. One said, "Do not deliver Elian to the Romans." Another said, "Elian is Christ, Reno is Lucifer, Castro is Satan," and I thought he played for the Buffalo Sabres. Miares says, "These religious connections to Elian are a way for people to channel their grief and anger over 41 years of revolution. This child is a way for them to envision resurrection for Cuba." But the Roman Catholic Church isn't buying it, at least not officially, nor is it pointing to abundant Catholic teaching that says the relationship of a parent to a child takes precedence over issues of state or religion, suggesting the child should be returned to his father in Cuba rather than stay here. Instead, the Archdiocese of Miami has taken a no-comment position, saying only that people should pray for Elian and everyone involved with his future. End of column. So there's the column right there that everybody needs to have. And taped to the dead chicken on the outside of their door, right under where the mezuzah sits on the door frame. Crazy people, that's what we're talking about. Crazy religious fanatics. Now here comes this great fax from somebody named Gonzalez, which I guess won't be a giveaway since we have 500,000 people named Gonzalez or Rodriguez in this town. Right, George?
Couple.
Unfortunately, listening to your show forces me to become partly a professional Cuban, says Mr. Gonzalez. I find that most, 70% of your callers originate from Broward County. Would you agree with that? That 70%? No. In fact, yesterday, it's all the calls that came from the Gables and Kendall and all kinds of places. I'd say half and half. But at any rate, I find it amusing that they complain about a couple of roads being blocked by Cuban protest in the city of thousands of roads. And what is even funnier is that this blockage doesn't in any way affect your Broward County callers. Well, you know something? The last blockage we had when we had the incident with the Coast Guard that got all these crazy religious nuts whipped up to a frenzy, who run their own government within a government and foreign policy within a county. The last time, it seems to me that it weren't just a few side roads. We're talking about the access to Miami Beach, the Julia Tuttle, the MacArthur Causeway that they had blocked off. And it could have easily been people from Broward County or Palm Beach or Peoria whose lives may have depended on being able to get across that body of water to maybe Mount Sinai Hospital if they've been having a heart attack or have been injured or shot or God only knows what else. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And what is even funnier, he says, is the blockage, like I said, doesn't affect the Broward County callers. Yet they call with such strong aggression. We both know their opinions have nothing to do with a couple of streets that have been blocked that obviously don't come in any way affected Davie, Plantation, Pembroke Pines, or North Miami Beach. I attended Cornell University, and most of my American friends are so very different than your callers. They have higher intelligence. They're very impressed on how well Cubans have done in the U.S. It is obvious that our audience, they're all morons. Don't you understand that, Mr.? Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. This is a listener. Don't want to insult him. It is obvious that non-Cuban South Florida community is using this Elian issue to vent their frustration, envy, and jealousy that exists against the Cuban community in South Florida. How pathetic and petty. He writes P-E-T-I-T, which is petite, spelled wrong. How petty, I think is what you mean. Isn't that what you mean, Mr. Gonzalez?
Uh-huh.
Your callers want to send Elian back not because of any deep concern of reuniting Elian with his father, but rather for all the wrong reasons, including non-Cuban Hispanics want to send the child back simply because the kid is Cuban, and in their eyes, Cubans get preferential treatment. So what if he does? The other Hispanics should get off their fat rear ends and achieve financial success like the Cubans have, so they can lobby for their respective rights instead of whining about preferential treatment. It is obvious to any reasonable person that the other Hispanics in this community are very envious of the Cubans' economic success story that has not been duplicated by any other Hispanic group anywhere in the U.S. Some Anglos in the community are just tired about hearing about Cuba and don't want to see the Cubans get their way. I say, too bad. Press the TV channel. Better yet, don't watch so much TV and go read a book. Personally, I'm beginning to think that some Anglos in the community are used to pushing minority groups around. Cubans are unlike most minorities in this country, as Cubans have achieved economic success, have a significant professional class, and are politically organized despite our small numbers. Cubans have proven they can compete with Anglos that work in the classroom. I think it's quite admirable that we're fighting for what we believe in and what is right. Unless you like to make it seem, these protests are being done in a very peaceful manner. There were no fights, destruction of private property, looting, etc., unlike what you saw by Anglos in Seattle just recently, and unlike what you see in a Pearl Jam concert where there's an average of 40 arrests. Every major politician in Florida, including Governor Jeb Bush, Connie Mack, and Bob Graham, have advocated that Elian should be allowed to go through the entire appeals process. In fact, the next president of the U.S., whether George Bush or Al Gore, indicate the same. Also, if your callers are going to call about Cubans, they really should do some research. They will find that Cubans fought for their independence. Cuban exiles attempted to recapture Cuba in the Bay of Pigs. It is impossible to invade Cuba right now with a makeshift army, as Cuba's military force is significant. Cuba before Castro was the most advanced country in Latin America, and the Castro Revolution was a political and social revolution, not an economic one. Castro never made himself out to be a communist until after he took power. The CIA has attempted to get rid of Castro through numerous plots against his life. The U.S. has attempted 40 years to economically strangle a regime and has failed. And the Cuban exiles in the U.S. economically and educationally outperform the national averages in the U.S. significantly. Try to be objective and fair, despite the fact that your audience base is mostly Anglo. Well, you know, the fact that the Cuban community has achieved all these things that he says, it would seem that a little bit of gratitude would be in order. Instead of slapping the rest of us in the face and always saying, well, too bad, get off your fat ass, and yada, 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 and you're jealous, instead of a crap like that. And instead of trying to rationalize aberrant, unacceptable behavior and threatening and holding a community hostage, not just about Elian, but about Los Bam Bam and about the Coast Guard and everything, and about the goddamn Junior Pan American Games, everything. Everything here has to be based on the threat of force. If we piss off this group of militant so-called exiles, it is unfreaking acceptable to reasonable people of any background, whether they live in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Alachua County. It doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference, Mr. Gonzalez. This is one of the most arrogant, obnoxious faxes I've ever received, and thank you for sharing your arrogance with us.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 QAM.
What a humongous... Wow!
I like guys.
Were you fudge packing?
Caca, poop, pissing. What else? What am I missing?
I want to bang you in the butt, honey.
All right.
I thought Christianity was fairy tale. This religion thing was not for me. They held a big convention, let me in for free. I had no idea what I was about to see. Oh! They were speaking in tongues that made me a believer. It was kind of fun to stick it out of my mouth. Speak in tongues. They got me believing my tongue is weaving from side to side. The Lord will now embrace me. I clap my tongue to the beat. Now, whatever I do, He'll forgive me. 'cause now I speak in tongues. That makes me a believer, and I'm having fun, playing around with my mouth.
It's the baby Jesus, folks. Look out.
I speak in tongues.
It's the Virgin Mary. It's the Virgin of Guadalupe. It's the Virgin of Tiki. 14 before 11 at 560 WQM. I'm sitting at home minding my own business. The phone rings yesterday afternoon, and it's Error on the clock, our good friends. And they say, "Are you going to be there for a while, Mr. Rogers?" I said, "Yes. We have our driver would like to deliver something to you." And like 15 minutes later, there's a knock on the door, and they bring me a beautiful, basket. A tisket, a tasket, all kinds of goodies in the basket.
What was in it?
Good stuff. A lot of which I shouldn't be eating, but nevertheless. And there was cheese, and there were apples, and there were like some of those good stuff. Thanks, Lenny. And a nice card in there, too. It's really very nice. Good people. See, there's some very nice people out there. Our friend, what's his name, over at Randy Maltash? Ticket defense team every year. He's one of the very few people that recognize my anniversary on March 1 every year. Nice going, Randy. So I just thought I would acknowledge that. And also, I've forgotten to mention my close personal friend from beautiful mailboxes in Dania, Sherry Valencia. Yes, thanks, Sherry. What a great job they do for me. Thanks, sweetheart. You're the best. Beautiful mailboxes in Dania. There's nobody better in the world. I just noticed, by the way, on the front page of the same Herald that these other articles were in. Police help Jordanian reclaim son. In a child custody fight closely watched because of its parallels to the Elian Gonzalez case, a Jordanian father took his 2-year-old son away from the child's mother Thursday night with the help of Miami-Dade police. When police hesitated to carry out a court order and accompany Ibrahim Shanti to claim his son, their legal office told them it was a court order and they had no choice. Police then responded by getting a break order, permission to break down the door if the mother refused to peacefully hand over the child. The police involvement was in sharp contrast to a vow by Miami County Mayor Alex Pinga-Pequena not to allow Dade officers to assist immigration officials if they attempt to remove Elian from his uncle's home in Little Havana. Juan Mendieta, our former friend and spokesman for Pinga-Pequena, said the police presence at the mother's home was a normal procedure and far different because the Elian case is about an unaccompanied minor who reached the shores where the courts have basically been trying to determine who can speak for this child, as opposed to this case where the Jordanian couple has gone through the appellate process and exhausted the appellate thing. Juan Mendieta, of course, who's one of the spokespeople and shills for Mayor Pinga-Pequena. How sad that is. Good guy, basically, but unfortunately, he's got no choice. That's his station in life. That's what he's chosen to be, a parrot on the shoulder of Mayor Pinga-Pequena. But just to go back one more time to that obnoxious facts from Mr. Gonzalez. See, I am very objective, because I have no axe to grind. And who could be more fair? Right from the beginning, I've said I could make a really strong case for the boy to stay here or the boy to go back with his father. I could make a very eloquent, great case either way. I could have been a great attorney. Trust me when I tell you. Better than some I know. That's right. So I really don't care. It is of no consequence to me whether he stays or goes back. The only thing being, of course, that a lot of us who felt that way all along have been really turned off because of the behavior of the so-called Miami family and their attorneys and their public relations people and their political hacks. And this community we have to constantly suffer for this. It's not just a couple of roads, and it's not just one isolated incident. It's people who want to live in a sane country, who want to live in the U.S. of A. If you want to live in a foreign country, believe me, I have a passport. I go to foreign countries all the time, and there's a lot of good ones to choose. I don't think Cuba's one of them, but nevertheless, go to whichever one you like and live in a foreign country. This business that, well, just because we've been successful, therefore we have the right to be arrogant and demand whatever the hell we want and inconvenience everybody else. This is an obnoxious attitude. So for you to send me a fax giving me a lecture about my attitudes, I'm telling you right now, I guess not only is my audience stupid, but all the people who watch Channel 6 must be stupid too. Those 65% of the people in that poll and all the people nationwide, 80 and 90% of the people who think the boy belongs with his father, they must be stupid and hate Cubans and be all the other things that you accuse me of being, none of which are true. Love Cubans. Some. Not those old toothless ones. Like, for example, Miguel. He's close. Saw him in there this morning when I was in there bitching out Defoe for being such a John Henry suckhole. Miguel came in. I mean, I would be more than delighted to show my love and affection for him. What? What are you laughing about?
Do I have to watch? I can leave, right?
No, you could watch.
No, I could.
He could come in here right now. I'd give him a big squeeze and a hug. I'd squeeze it.
We don't have blinds on this window.
That's right. You'd be ecstatic, knowing what a pervert you are. Sorry. You don't have to go to a swing club to see excitement. Hey, Miguel, let's show him. Anyway, hey, listen, at least, unlike Joe Costello, you wouldn't have to worry about nothing that's swinging in your puss. You know what I'm talking about? Sometimes I think that Joe is nuts. Or something like that. Especially with that stock. Well, anyway, let's move along. Little levity I never heard. Mr. Gonzalez, all I can say is you're full of crap. You're full of big, brown, oozing crap duty. Okay, this so far looks pretty interesting, although none of them are flashing like it's supposed to be next, so I guess I'll just start at the top. Fort Lauderdale, hello.
Hey, Neil, there's only 4,000 Cubans that are an embarrassment to the Cuban community, which I admire, and Mr. Gonzalez is part of that 4,000. And Mr. Gonzalez, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, because 896,000 Cubans don't feel the way that 4,000 Cubans feel, okay? And that's my message. And Elian should be with his father. And just like Mr. Rogers says, I could have made a case for the kids to say, but you people are such an embarrassment, and you walk over other people's rights, which when you do, that's when your rights stop. Okay? God bless America.
Okay, thank you, sir. Here's one that says, "Hi God, why?" Answer this is you're the only one with the cojones to tackle this. Says somebody who's I can't read the name, Arthur, or whatever. Well, because Tom Jicka, he was right on top of it, because Tom Jicka and I are the only ones with balls in this town. That's basically what it's all about in the media. We're the only ones. The rest of them are a bunch of panderers, a bunch of suckholes, a bunch of jump on the bandwagon phonies, a bunch of idiots who stick their finger out the window and then still can't tell what the temperature is. Maybe they ought to stick their finger in there. They might be able to tell. Here's a call in the Grove. Hello.
Yes, who's this?
Yes, sir. This is me.
Oh, Neil Rogers?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I was listening to you. You keep talking about violence and all that, and I was one of those people that was out there on 8th Street. I just wanted to see what was going on, and I went out there, and I didn't see any violence or any...
What do you mean I keep talking about violence? When was I talking about violence?
Articles that you've been reading that have been saying that violence is going to erupt in Dade County and this and that, and I haven't seen any of that.
Not yet.
But what history do we have to indicate that it will happen?
How about when the Coast Guard got these same people pissed off the last time, just a couple of months ago? Didn't we have violence? Didn't we have people throwing rocks and bottles at each other out in the street? Wasn't Mayor Martinez of Hialeah beating the crap out of people who were blocking the street?
Those were punks.
It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference who they were, okay? If this kid gets sent back, and if it just is presented in a way that displeases the exile community, you're going to have a real nasty scene in this town. They're already threatening to form this human chain around the house. You think the INS is going to put up with that?
Well, listen, they have a right to form a human chain if they want, and just like they have...
They have a right to impede the law?
No, they'll get arrested. Anybody that impedes the law will get arrested. They have the right to form a human chain if they want.
So in other words,
the government has the right to arrest them.
You're condoning this then, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not condoning them. I'm condoning the right to assemble. I'm condoning the right
for peaceful assembly, not for interfering with the law.
Well,
and not for disrupting people's lives, and not for having a bunch of truckers out there who are forming convoys on the highway and blocking off the traffic and slowing down, and not for dropping gravel in the streets. You know what we're talking about, sir. Don't pretend that you don't understand what it is.
That's so minor. I mean,
sir,
anybody
to you it's minor. If somebody dies because of it, because they can't get to the hospital, it will not be minor, okay, sir? To you, it's minor. To a lot of us, it's unacceptable. Which word don't you understand, sir? It is unfreaking acceptable. Period. And like I said, it would be one thing if this is the first time this ever happened. You could say, oh, it's an extraordinary circumstance, yada, yada, yada. But it happens every time the same group of so-called exiles get displeased. And talk about minor. How about having a goddamn ball game getting played? How about the goddamn Cuban national team playing the Orioles? How about the, like I said, the Junior Pan Am games? They can't come here because the exiles won't permit it. Because Dade County's got these stupid laws on the books. We can't have the Latin Grammys here because there are going to be a couple of groups in there who come from Cuba. We can't have art displays in this town because there are going to be artists in there displaying their work who are from Cuba. And on it goes. Sir, you can try to couch it in any terms you want to rationalize it. The fact is, very clearly, that Dade County is held hostage to a bunch of fanatical lunatics, period. And it is unacceptable. And you can't name me one other county and one other state in the U.S. of A. that's held hostage by any ethnic group. If you could, I'd be willing to listen, but I don't think so. Nauseating. Oh, well, it's just minor. What are you complaining about? We're just, disrupting people's lives. and causing chaos and embarrassing and humiliating the city and costing it millions and millions and millions of dollars in tourist money, a county that's always scratching, especially the city of Miami, for every dime. Where we can't send kids home with school books. We aren't concerned about the kids who go home without school books in Dade County every night, but we're concerned about some little kid that showed up here on a rubber raft. And I don't want to be insensitive. He's a human being and deserves to be treated properly. But for crying out loud, what makes him so goddamn special, other than, of course, being Jesus and the baby Moses and all these other things? Let's get serious. That's what this is all about. It's got nothing to do with a 6-year-old kid. It has to do with a pissing contest with Castro. That's all this is about. And anybody who gives me a crock of crap that they're so concerned about the future of poor little Elian and how he'll be taken back there and being brainwashed. Here he is standing there holding this little baby Jesus in his arms here in this picture. Talk about brainwashing and going to a Catholic church on the days when he actually gets out of the house. Maybe if he's really lucky, he can wind up to stay here and become an altar boy.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 WQAM Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Sports Radio 560.
Oh!
WQAM Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
I gotta get out of this game. If it's the last thing I ever do, I gotta get out of this gig. I used to be a star. I'm talking TV and movies, DJ Hooker, Emergency 911. You like Star Trek, right? Scotty, beam me up from this nightmare gig. I'll admit it. I got the call from my agent about this Priceline.com thing when things weren't going too well. No way, things weren't going at all. So he says, Bill, you want to do a few commercials? They'll pay you a ton of money. So I said, sure. It went so well. They said, hey, Bill, you want to do it on TV? And I said, what do I sign? I'm back on TV, baby. I'm going to be a star again. I'll be big, really big. And then I realized all the TV spots are making fun of that really awful album I made back in the 60s. I'm a parody of myself. I went out. But my agent says, I already signed the contract. You're stuck, he says. I gotta get out of this gig. Girl, I'll have a better life if I do. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. 5,000 unsold tickets for the Panthers-Ottawa game tonight, by the way. Any interest?
No.
Okay. Big game, Ottawa at the Mac Arena tonight at 7 o'clock pregame, game time 7:35. Eddie K rhymes with GA after the hockey game. Yeah, that fax really just sends my insides tingling, I'll tell you that. Arrogant and obnoxious. And I hate to break the news to you, Mr. Gonzalez, but the fact is that there are an awful lot of us in this town who don't give a crap about your ethnicity. It's of no interest to me. How successful you are. I'm pretty successful too, you know what? And I'm not Cuban. And I don't support fascism. Here's Miami. Hello.
Neil.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm a 26-year-old Cuban
yes,
in Little Havana.
All right.
And I'll let you know one thing. This is just about 4 people who want to have a pissing contest with Castro. That's all.
That's right.
That's all it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to let you know that yesterday you were being shot down on every Cuban radio station. You along with Bo Griffin.
Yeah.
For standing up for the rest of us.
That's not unusual. I mean, you know, I'd like to see what happened if somebody would send a fax to the Spanish language station saying, "Can't you be a little bit more objective, like this guy that just sends me a fax?"
Actually, they were going on about how the Cubans run Miami and everything has to go their way, or they'll just go all buck wild on everybody.
Isn't that great?
So I'm Cuban. This guy, whatever his name is, go back to where you're from. If you don't like it here, you're so successful, go be successful somewhere else.
Amen.
Have a good one.
Thanks, pal. Yeah, I think, like we're trying to say, and of course it's very difficult to lose the perspective on that, but here's a small group of a few thousand people. It's hard to tell how many there really are. And the overwhelming majority of people don't feel that way, in spite of what Enrique Fernandez writes in his Sun Sentinel and what this Mr. Gonzalez writes in his fax. The majority of people, in fact, the people that listen to those Spanish language radio stations and call it and do their bidding and do whatever the hell they tell them to do, they're all the old green tooth crowd. You know who I'm talking about. The old domino playing goofballs with the green teeth. The so-called exiles who just will never let it go. And the media here continues to pander them and to portray, this is the South Florida Cuban community. Is it?
No.
No. But they're the ones who will pull all the strings. You know, like in The Godfather, it's showing the thing with the pulling the strings. They're the ones who pull all the strings because everybody else in this town sits on their ass. That's one thing Gonzalez is right about. Everybody else here sits on their ass. Just like on Miami Beach, anybody with a Jewish name, they got elected in Miami Beach years ago because all the voters were old Jews. Same thing in Hallandale. And now the same thing all over Dade County because the only people that bother voting in Dade County anymore are old Julios. Here's a Popka. Hello.
Yeah, Neil, excellent Palm Beach Post editorial today. 14 months ago, Mayor Alex Pinilas worried so much about safety on the streets that he sued gun makers. On Wednesday, Mayor Pinilas said that if the federal government returns Elian to Cuba and violence breaks out, he won't help with security.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's the one that's talking about violence, not me.
Mayor Pinilas' comments were reckless and contradictory. Yet, by staging this news conference, Mayor Pinilas became a provocateur himself. So, I think that says it all, and this all brings me back to that famous final scene in the movie The Field, where Richard Harris was going into the ocean, smacking his walking stick against the waves and saying, "Go back, go back."
Okay. Well, maybe he's looking for that chicken on the door. I don't know. Ah, Jesus. Here's Dave the cop. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to speak to Neil.
Oh, this is not Dave. I'm on the wrong line. Okay, hang on. Okay, see, this thing is so cockeyed. But I'm not going to start on a phone again because supposedly, allegedly, this phone system is getting sent back and we're getting a real one. Allegedly. Anybody believe it?
No.
Like I said, here's Dave the cop on 7. Hello.
How you doing, Neil?
Okay.
You know, you keep, well, a lot of people, they keep talking about that the majority of Latins don't feel that way. And my wife is from Cuba, and she's pretty liberal compared to the most and all. But, you know, my contention is that a silent majority is still a minority.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, if the people feel that way, then they need to stand up, speak up like.
But they never have. They never have.
And, you know, the other guy, point well taken in Seattle, you did have a bunch of probably rich white kids causing mayhem in Seattle, but arrests are very subjective. After what all the politicians said here the other day, how many arrests you actually think are going to be made here unless things really go to hell in a handbasket when you have the choice not to make the arrest? And with that same sort of, let's just say, latitude be given to people up in Liberty City and Little Haiti, if the same things are everything equal?
No way.
And, you know, and it creates a problem for a lot of people. It's a sad situation. You know, the people, if they're lawless, they need to go to jail. If they're not, I agree with the guy. Certainly, peaceful demonstration is welcome. I welcome it. I enjoy it.
But you know something? How many demonstrations do we need already? Okay, they've made their point. Everybody understands the way they feel, whether we agree or not. But how many demonstrations do you have to have before finally you sit back and the law plays itself out and que sera, sera. Whatever it's going to be is going to be. And then when I read this article about all this religious hocus pocus and all these rumors spreading around, I mean, you got to understand the nature of these people that you're talking about, these old green-toothed exiles.
Well, that goes back to square one. Then the silent majority needs to become a majority and stop listening to this horse crap. And, you know, by and large, too, we're still living in a community, and it's not to single out any one politician, but we're living in a community, and I'll say South Florida as a whole, where they only have to suck up to one group of people because they have the vast majority over the rest of the people, so they don't have to concern themselves with the other constituents. They just, how many times did Lincoln Jackass Ballard or Ross Layton ever get on TV to do anything with an African American or an Anglo male?
Never.
Or an Anglo person, period. Right. There's the problem right there, and I would venture to say there's got to be some African Americans and white Anglos in their constituency. You know, it doesn't put them on TV, so they don't want to deal with it. And that's where the problem is. It deals with what's going on in the leadership and the loving attitude of South Florida.
Okay, Dave.
And go Cardinals.
I knew you'd say it.
You got it.
Okay. He said it. Did he say it?
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 QAM.
Oh, my God, your breasts are beautiful.
Estrangulando el pollo para acá.
Move over, Mark Anthony and Lou Bega. There's a new hot Latin pop sensation who's moving up the charts. It's Hernando Valencia Frijoles Gonzalez Rodriguez with his scorching debut album, Let's Have Sex.
Oh, I'm so handsome. And now, we make love.
Rolling Stone calls Hernando as attractive as Enrique Iglesias with a certain Ricky Martin quality. Spin Magazine raves, forget how he sings. Hernando is going to make you sizzle with his fiery Latin looks.
I will love you, like the men do from the country from where I am from.
Billboard magazine says, since everyone's buying Latin music, this is another one people can buy. So don't throw your parents' money away on CDs with singers who are ugly. Buy the hot new album from Hernando Valencia Frijoles Gonzalez Rodriguez, Let's Have Sex. I am Hernando, and my CD contains many pictures for you to look at and imagine we are having sex. While I am riding this gravy train that is Latin music.
Let's have sex. Available on Capitalized Records.
All right. And here's another fax from Carolyn, our attorney friend in Miami, who says, in response to Mr. Gonzalez, she says, well, let's see, Mr. Gonzalez, who am I, a listener to the Neil Rogers Show? 1, I'm not too smart, even though I have 19 years of education and have practiced law for 20 years. 2, I live in Broward, even though I've lived in Dade for 29 years and visit Broward only to go to court. 3, I resent and dislike Cubans, even though I recently had a Cuban-American law partner. And 4, I want Elian to be returned to his father because I'm anti-Cuban, even though the laws of every country, including Cuba and the U.S., recognize the parent's overwhelming right to decisions for his or her child, not the right of a great-uncle or a cousin. And who are you, Mr. Gonzalez? 1, an arrogant Cuban who spits in the face of the country who's given you everything. 2, a person who cares about one-upsmanship on Fidel Castro rather than the well-being of a 6-year-old boy. And 3, finally, a fascist and crazy person with a small band of equally selfish, self-centered people who have made this city and county the laughingstock of MSNBC and CNN. Nice going, Carolyn, as usual. Yeah, and this business, the Spanish language radio, that doesn't surprise me. They've been doing that for years. Attacking me and Bo Griffin, anybody who's got the balls to go on the air and to disagree. All you have to do is have a dissenting point of view in this town. Comunista, and of course in this case, Medicon, Comunista, it's very convenient. Same old tired crap that's been going on since day one, since they got off their banana boat. Here's a mobile in Miami. Hello.
No, this is Scott in West Palm Beach.
Okay, there it is. I can't read this thing, Scott. Sorry.
That's all right. Great phone system.
This thing is a piece of crap.
Man, I've listened to you for years, and this is the first time I've ever called.
Okay.
I'm just so pissed off.
And fired up.
For one thing, these morons have made Uncle Fidel look like this wonderful old grandpa. They've given him more PR than he ever could have paid for.
Yeah.
He looks sane. They look crazy.
And of course, this latest deal that he's pulling, where he's going to send the father over here now. He's applied for the visa. He's going to be on his way any second now, and he's going to come over here. And even Mayor Pinga Pequeña says, "Oh yeah, well when the father gets here, there's no question that they have to turn the boy over to him while the custody battle goes on."
Yeah, but not this Gonzalez moron. No, they're going to change the rules. Their lawyer says, well, maybe not. Of course the kid wants to stay. He's going to Disney World. He's watching Nickelodeon.
And he's being brainwashed every day, 24 hours a day.
And if he goes back to Cuba, Fidel is going to parade him and make his life just wonderful. The kid wins either way.
That's right.
But, for Jeb Bush and any of the rest of them to even intimate to the federal government that they will not support it just invites the National Guard and, God forbid, the Marines to be sent down here. And that's going to be great for those of us that have to do business in Miami-Dade or the other good citizens of Miami-Dade. We can live under martial law.
Yeah.
Won't that be fun? So anyway, I just had to call Neil. I'm just so fired up. I am sick unto death. The kid should have been shipped back immediately. He is an illegal alien, and he has no rights.
Okay,
period.
Scott. Thanks.
Thanks, Neil.
Yeah. Mr. Gonzalez. Maybe that was Speedy Gonzalez. What do you think? Yeah. See, this thing, with the lines, but I don't want to get started with this phone thing again. God forbid I should do that. Here's a mobile in Miami. Hello.
Hello, Neil?
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Okay.
Viva Elian.
Yeah. How did I know? As soon as I heard the voice. Chronic. He's an asshole. Little child. Little infant. I say let's send this kid back and let Elian stay here, wherever this kid's living. Here's a mobile in Pembroke Pines. Hello.
Hey, Neil, how you doing?
Okay.
Thank God I don't have to go south of the border anymore, which is the Dade-Broward line.
Yeah.
A couple quick things, man. I'm not Jewish or black, but I got to tell you, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, some of the comments I've heard, like Enrique and Fernandez, trying to compare this kid with a child that was in the Holocaust and being sent back to a concentration camp.
Oh, it's like a guy I had yesterday who was trying to tell me that millions of people have been murdered in Cuba. Millions.
Well, that's just not true. It's economics. I'm sorry, Neil. It's hard for me to hear you right now. I can't hear what you're saying.
Yeah, well, it's this great phone system.
But
it's popping and puking.
One other thing is, it's so funny. If this is not political, how come not one single Republican is for this child going back? Every single one of them. It's so political. It's ridiculous. They're all, wanting votes from the Cuban population.
But you can understand that because they're at least they're pandering to their constituency. Why Democrats like Bob Graham and Al Gore are getting sucked into this when they're not going to get those people's votes anyway? The exiles, there isn't a Chinaman's chance they're going to get that vote. They're getting some really bad advice.
That I don't understand. And this is unbelievable in the national media. It's all over the place. It's not just the local media. But like I see Carollo the other day on CNN saying how they're having prayer vigils now. You know, the hand of God came over him and sent these dolphins in to save him.
That is right.
Now the hand of God...
Got to save him from being a Santeria sacrifice on Fidel's front door.
Why doesn't the hand of God just go over Cuba and take care of Castro if he's so almighty powerful?
Well, he's too busy placing the Virgin Mary on
that's what it was. I was wondering why that was.
He's got a lot of other crap to take care of. Plus all those ball games, the guys that are praying.
Well,
yes.
In closing, Neil, I would just like to say to my Cuban constituents down there, ¡Arriba Fidel!
Here's Plantation. Hello.
Uncle Neil.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I gotta turn the volume down on this thing now.
Well, what do you mean? You can't hear on hold?
No, of course not. It's your phone.
Of course not. We already checked this thing out this morning.
No, as a matter of fact, I called you from a mobile before, and I had to hang up. I couldn't hear you on hold there.
Oh.
I don't want to stir the pot on you.
Oh, not again.
Maybe I got lucky twice.
Okay.
Listen, before I go off and call this guy that sent you the fax an asshole, I got to check my facts.
Mm-hmm.
Is he trying to tell me that because I live in Plantation about 16 miles north of the county line that I'm not supposed to have an opinion on it?
Right.
Okay, so I'm not supposed to have an opinion.
They're not your highways anyway, don't you understand?
Well, besides the fact that I drive a truck for a living and I'm in Dade County half of every day.
Yeah, but now you're nitpicking, see.
So I'm not supposed to care about Combine either.
If it's only half the time, then you should have like half of the right to have an opinion.
Okay, well, what about Combine? I shouldn't care that those kids got shot?
No.
And the poor guy in New York that got shot 40-something times by the cops?
Right.
I have no opinion on that. So I'll just limit myself to what goes on in Plantation.
Well, I think you were right in the beginning when you said he's an asshole. I think that was getting closer to
well, I just wanted to, I hate to go off calling people names unless I got my facts straight, but that has to be one of the classic faxes that you've got.
I mean, just absolutely arrogant and obnoxious and, well, we've been successful and you're all jealous and what's a few streets and you're not driving them on anyway and, it's just unbelievable.
Neil, even if I didn't spend 1 second of my life in Dade, which I try to avoid as much as I can.
Right.
Even if I lived in Washington State on the other side of the country, how could you not have an opinion on this? And when
I don't know about you.
When you hear what the mayor says, how could you
I don't know whether you do any traveling or not, but I almost always fly out of Miami International because wherever I'm going, usually that's where I get the direct flights to. And so as I'm somebody who not only works in Dade County every day, even though it's just below the county line, but I also use the airport a hell of a lot, probably more than 95% of the people in this audience. And I'm not going to sit still. If I decide I want to go out of town for the weekend or on vacation, I'm not going to sit still very quietly while a bunch of lunatics decide that they're going to block the airport and disrupt my life because they're pissed off that they didn't get their way this time.
Yeah, this guy is just he's way off the mark.
Okay, have a great day, sir.
You too.
So they can't hear on hold. Well, let's continue checking it out. Fort Lauderdale, hello.
Hello, Neil.
Could you hear on hold?
Yeah, I've been on hold and I can't hear anything either.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to get emotional about it again.
Sorry about that.
Oh.
I'm an American who's married into a Cuban family. And I do have somewhat of an insight on the situation more than the average layman. But I know there's a lot of decent law-abiding Cubans who live in Broward and Dade County, but there are a huge contingency of silent Cubans out there that do support the radicals in breaking the law and holding the city hostage and everything else. So I don't buy into the fact that there's 4,000 of them out there that support this, and that's it, and there's 480,000 that are against it.
680,000
It's just not true.
Back very silently, right?
It's just not true because every Cuban that I ever speak to or come in any contact with say, well, they had to hold the causeway hostage. They had to prove their point. Even though they didn't participate, they completely support it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hasta que. Here's a fax from Kim, white Kim, who's offended. She says, I love you and all, but what's with the poll? Non-Hispanic white? Why not just white? What's with the non-Hispanic crap? Hispanic is Hispanic. It's not white. White is white. I never...
That must be that census lady that called up.
Oh, no. It's white Kim is who it is. She's all right. That's just our way of trying to define, okay, to try to make it clearer for some more people might be just a little bit on the slow side, a little bit confused. Yeah, be sure and vote in our poll over the weekend. What are you besides, well, non-Hispanic, white, Cuban, Puerto Rican, other Hispanic, African American, or other? Oh, you know what? Well, it's too late.
When you take a Spanish class, do you get darker as you learn Spanish?
We should have also put like Haitian and Jamaican in there. We've got plenty of dark-complected people who aren't African American.
Ooh, you're right.
Well, too late, because Eric's not there now. Anyway, here's a fax from Bill in Deerfield who says, how else will Elian be able to have Castro set his people free unless they return him to Cuba? Then he can confront Castro with the 10 plagues. When Castro gives the okay, Elian can then part the Atlantic and set his people free. There you go.
All right.
Excellent point, Bill in Deerfield. Yeah. He's going to part the waters, the muddy waters. 567, I apologize again, even though it's not my place to apologize, because Greg Reed ought to be on here. He ought to have a message recorded that we ought to play like every half an hour, apologizing to me and to the audience for this piece of smegma that we're using here as a phone system, which you'll notice the phone calls sound real tinny and crappy again on the air today, and they can't hear on hold again. Even though we tried to check that out, we thought that it was working okay this morning. Is it working okay?
No.
No, it is not. But nevertheless,
This isn't your mother's radio station.
This shit rocks.
Sports Radio 560 UAM.
Kind of feel clueless right now, Bill. Kind of like a eunuch in a whorehouse.
Her family likes a mess. Her husband stained her dress, caught him cheating and he confessed. She's powerful. She moved to New York State. Her husband said that sounded great, but that'll give him time to fornicate. She knows he's unfaithful. Meet Hillary. You heard about Whitewater. You know they never caught her. Take a look at her big hindquarters. Ain't they found a vote? Meet Hillary. She wants to be a senator, but who would ever vote for her? Giuliani would concur. In fact, he wrote most of these words. Yeah, Rudy wrote all of these words. Yeah. And he really isn't fond of her.
Rich Pachter sends a fax, a copy of a thing that he faxed over to Mayor Pinga Pequena, but I think he only sent it to me because he wants his name on here. Nice going there, Rich.
Oh!
Piss off Paul Harvey Jr., who I saw at the hockey game last couple of nights ago, by the way, and sends his regards to you, George. Not. 5670560, pound 560 on the AT&T line. Here's Miami. Hello.
Hi, Neil.
Yes, sir.
Hi. You know, I think you have a real great show. I mean, I've turned the radio down. I haven't heard anybody addressing some of the problems here in Miami. And I think that the exile community should start listening to other people so that they can begin to understand what people are really thinking. I mean, they only listen to their own rhetoric, and they need
it's like a revolving door. I mean, just a self-serving thing that goes on and on and on and round and round and round like a dog chasing its tail. It's the same people listening, you know, to the expression preaching to the choir. That's what Spanish language radio is all about.
You know, Neil, they don't address a lot of the problems, like all the corruption here. And it's not just Elian that people are upset about. They're upset about all the corruption. I mean, look at what's happening over at MIA. It's a very one-sided issue. They need to start looking at how Americans are viewing this. They've been welcomed here in America, and they should listen to Americans.
They won't do it.
They won't do it. It's a shame because, you know, Miami could be a very, very interesting city if they allowed it to be. It could be a city that could make a lot of money.
Never going to happen again.
Yeah, it's true. I'm interested in buying a house here, and I'm scared to death because you never know what's going to happen to property values. I mean, the corruption here is terrible. You know, it's got to stop. I mean, the Medicaid fraud, mortgage
You're
fraud.
thinking of buying a house in Dade County?
Well, I'm thinking about downtown Miami, but
Don't buy a house.
Oh, boy.
I mean, if you look at
You must be dreaming.
look at the fraud
You must
over
be
in
having a
MIA.
John Henry experience.
The gentleman was talking about how well people are doing here in the exile community. How well? I mean, where do they get their money from? I mean, they come here.
Selling their teeth.
They come here flat broke, supposedly,
And in one generation, they're driving around in very expensive automobiles, expensive homes. You wonder where that money comes from. Now, I've been in business for a long time, and
You want to buy a golden bracelet?
Well, you cannot make all this money that they claim.
Can I visit your home and fix some teeth for you? Have a great day, pal.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank God there's no superstition among the exile community. That's what I say. That old black magic, that old Santeria, baby. This article here, I'm saving this one. Pray for Elian. A Santeria priestess has warned Castro that he'd be overthrown by a child saved by dolphins at sea. Therefore, he has to get the child back in order to defuse the boy's potential power. Santeria, baby. The great uncle believes that Castro will make... And this, by the way, this is Lazaro. This is who he's staying with. He believes that Castro will make the kid a witchcraft sacrifice and passes this note along to Sister Jean, who probably passed it on to Janet Reno. Maybe not the note, but she passed it on. I wonder if Janet was able to stay still long enough to enjoy that. You think so?
No.
Probably not. Here's Coral Springs. Hello.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
Scared the hell out of me.
It's okay. We won't do it again.
Wasn't expecting it. Couple of things I wanted to bring up. First of all, the whole thing about their negotiating with INS. What's there to negotiate? I didn't know this was a negotiation.
I don't know.
I mean,
I have no idea.
It's open and shut. You know, and once the dad comes over, he should be returned to him right away. I mean,
to me, it's like a yes or no thing. Are you going to sign this or are you not going to sign it?
Exactly.
If the answer continues to be no, they'll say, okay, well, we'll have all the INS agents will be there to pick them up 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and don't get in our way or else, and that's it.
Exactly. And then when the dad gets here, they're saying, well, they have to interview the dad first to make sure that his intentions are good and make sure that they let him meet on neutral grounds. No. When that dad gets here, wherever it may be, Washington or Miami, the kid immediately goes to the dad.
Mm-hmm.
And he shouldn't even have to wait till the process is over. If the dad wants to take him back to Cuba at that point, then it's all said and done.
I would think so.
You know, and then
that's what the law says.
It's unbelievable. You see this thing with the Jordan case, how quietly everything happened, and the kid's going back.
Right.
You know, and
I don't see any Jordanians protesting in the streets, by the way, on behalf of the mother.
Had this been any other
on behalf of the kids staying in this country, going back to a 10th world country like Jordan.
Right. Had it been any other kid from any other part of the world, in any other other state in the United States,
nobody
he'd
would
have been back in 24 hours.
You never would have heard a word about it, and he'd have been long gone.
And now you've got Al Gore coming out saying...
Just like when they intercepted the Haitian boat that happened right around the same time, back last Thanksgiving time. Remember that?
Exactly.
Everybody went back immediately.
And now Al Gore is saying that he's petitioning the Congress to not only allow Elian to become a citizen, but his dad, his new mother.
The ganze Mishpacha, right?
What is? And then if he does that, then what's stopping the rest of the Cubans from saying, well, we want to come over?
Mm-hmm.
You set a precedent. That's what this case is about. It's not only about the welfare of the kid and the fact that he still has a biological parent alive. It's about setting a precedent. And then you let him stay.
What Gore is hoping is that they can do that Fidel will send all of them over there, the father along with the ganze Mishpacha. They'll all get over here, and then they'll say, okay, well, we're going to make you proof you're all citizens, you all have whatever it is, and then they're all going to defect and stay here. And then they can say, see, we get the brownie points now. We got them all to stay over here, and we spit in Castro's face. And you think that the exiles are going to vote for Gore then?
No.
You know something? If Al Gore went down to Havana today and blew Castro off the face of the earth and came back with a smoking gun in his hand saying, hey, look at this, see what I did? And they'd say, oh, we're happy about that, but we're still voting for Bush.
Yeah.
Comunista.
I don't understand how he gets off.
Sir, you're dealing with crazy people. That's what you're dealing with.
Even Al Gore. I mean, at this point, he wants to circumvent all processes to appease one small sector of the community.
He's getting, as usual, very bad political advice.
You know, and it just, like I said, it sets a precedent. And then there's a 10-year-old that wants to stay, and a 17, and before you know it, everyone's saying, well, if you let him stay, I can stay.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned now. How long is it going to take before all this stuff trickles down to Broward County?
Amen. Okay, have a great day.
I'm getting out of here.
Okay. Although we'll take a look at the 17-year-old first. Again, we apologize profusely for Greg Reed and the Beasleys being totally incompetent and not being able for you to hear on hold today and the phone sounding like crap and real tinny like they're coming through a tin can, but we're working on it. I would say we're working feverishly on it, but that would be like a little bit of a overstatement. If your carpets are in really bad shape and you want to get them looking just like brand new, well, don't spend all the money to buy brand new carpeting. Just call our good friends at Dry Concepts because they'll do a job for you that you won't even believe, even when you see it with your own eyes. Dry Concepts are the best in the business, which is why I've been using them for about 15 years now. They've been doing it right in this town since way back in 1979. Their exclusive dry cleaning method sucks out even the deepest down dirt in your carpet that you can't see with the naked eye, which makes your carpet stay cleaner a lot longer, last longer, and of course they smell lemony fresh too because our friends at Dry Concepts apply disinfectant as they clean at no extra charge. And don't forget, speaking of charges, they give you a written guaranteed price right up front. No add-ons, no tack-ons, no gimmicks, no games. And they also do a tremendous job of furniture cleaning, drapery cleaning, spot dyeing, fiber protection, carpet repairs, in-plant oriental rug service, deodorization, even complete water damage restoration. Call Dry Concepts today in Dade 305-930-3636, Broward 954-581-4739, Palm Beach 561-930-4739.
This is 560 QAM.
Oh my God, it feels so good. Oh yeah. Oh, slow down. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Oh my God. Oh yeah, play with my balls. Play with my balls. Oh, that feels so good. Yeah, just roll them around. It's so good. Oh my God. I love it when you. Uh-oh, slow down. Don't move. I'll go get you a towel.
A little bit of sidelight here. Barry Jackass in the Herald, whatever his stupid column is this morning, writes at the very end of his article. News notes. Scott Kaplan and Sid Rosenberg, those two very zany live Jews who are on the station that nobody listens to except the idiots in this building, whose CBS Sports Line show is picked up by 1700 a.m. from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., are leaving to do a sports talk show for a New York City radio station. I guess a station that doesn't have a name. Is that right, Barry? Because you don't have it in here. 1700 will air their new program 6 to 10 a.m. starting April 10th. Wow. Well, I bet you our morning guys are peeing in their pants over that. What do you think? Sounds like another lawsuit to me, Greg. Here's a great article off the Newswire here. The 62-year-old grandmother wearing a sun visor and holding a parasol outside the house of Elian Gonzalez made the heightening tension in Miami starkly clear. If what Janet Reno wants is another Waco, she could have it here. Cuban exile Elena Aguilar said Thursday, "We won't let her take the child. Not now, not ever." Reno killed children in Waco and Clinton marched with people who burned the American flag during Vietnam, said Aguilar's friend Maria Alonso, 73. Who are they to speak about justice and patriotism? If justice is done, the boy will stay here. You heard what the kid said. He doesn't want to go, said Cuban native Ernesto Taylor, 61. Show me where to stand so I can take the first bullet. I'll defend his right to stay.
How old are these people?
60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 110, 120. Old, green tooth, militant, un-American assholes. And just like Tom Dicka says, and just like many callers said the last couple of days, there's no difference between what Mayor Pinka Pequena did a couple of days ago and what George Wallace did and what Orville Faubus did. No difference. Here's a mobile in Boca. Hello.
Hey, Neil.
Yes, sir.
Well, every time I thought I've heard the stupidest thing that these exiles say. You know, you read me something and it's even stupider or more ridiculous. You know, I never thought I'd want to stand behind Tom Dicka or Reno, but I think
you don't want not too close, though.
You're right about that. Listen, who does Mayor Pinellas, or Presidente Pinellas, in other words, he must think the police force is his own private police force, where he can tell them, in other words, we're not going to do this, we're not going to assist.
Yeah.
And who does he think he is to even make that statement?
He thinks he's a dictator, and he's got it part right. He's got it halfway right.
I mean, I'd like to hear if there's any Hialeah cops. I mean, they can't be all anti-Castro, exiles who actually, in other words, were offended at that. So, they're paid to uphold the law, and here Pinellas is coming on saying, I'm not going to allow his police force, in other words, to assist the federal troops.
Yes,
They're
sir.
unbelievable.
Okay, thanks.
I got one solution, Neil.
Yes.
To the whole thing. Listen, the Cubans are all big baseball fans, right?
Yeah.
They love the Marlins.
Yeah,
I say we trade Elian back for a power-hitting third baseman and a starting pitcher.
And send him to Washington. Okay.
There you go.
Thanks. Send him to Buffalo. They could use a baseball team there. They might not like the weather, but too bad. Sal Falcone comes in today with some La Romanella, balsamic vinegar of Modena, which, by the way, red wine vinegar is the best, but also balsamic vinegar, which is very expensive. Very good for your blood sugar. I might just drink a couple of gallons of this right out of the bottle. I might just suck it out of there. Here's Coral Springs. Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to try to help your
audience to understand what's behind really the killings. Well, I think you said it right before when you said that has to do with Castro. These people, USA has always fought communism for the last 60 years, right? We do it in Kosovo, which is I don't know how many miles away, but we don't do it 90 miles from here.
We weren't fighting communism.
Let me finish.
Sir, we weren't fighting communism in Kosovo. We were fighting because people were being slaughtered, because ethnic cleansing was going on, because
exactly, but it was a communist government.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now we have Fidel Castro and the Hamas here dictating a lot of things that go on in this country where we shouldn't allow it. These people who live here, let me finish. The people that live here, the Cuban exiles, all they want to do is overthrow their government, and that would be perfect for you, according to you, Cubans. They will all move back to Cuba. Wouldn't it be nice? Why don't we help them? Help them to overthrow the government.
Because we don't have any reason to overthrow the government. We don't have any reason to overthrow the government, sir. It has nothing to do with our national security. I've said it over and over again. It seems to me you call it the same crap all the time. With the same nonsense. Why don't we help them? Because we're not interested in risking anybody's life to go with a banana boat down there in Cuba. It's got nothing to do with us. And if we had any brains, we'd open up diplomatic relations with Cuba, and we'd stop with this goddamn charade to pacify a few thousand crazy exiles. That's exactly correct. End the embargo, open up diplomatic relations, and cut the crap. Seems to me there's still a whole lot of communists over there in China. Do we have diplomatic relations with China? Yeah. We doing business with the Chinese? Yeah. Comunista. Well, that's the reality of the real world, okay? Instead of just this hard-line, hard-ass attitude, because we have mostly political cowards in this country. Here's Plantation. Hello.
Good afternoon, Neil God.
Yes, sir.
It's a pleasure listening to your objectivity when on all the other medias, all you hear are these commentators and everything just reaching for the bucks and the ratings. I have a quick anecdote and a comment, if you may. I was eating at one of your favorite places Wednesday night, the Emerald Coast in Tamarack, and I was at the hostess station waiting to be seated, and your picture is on the wall. I say to my mother, Ma, that's the best commentator down here. And these three people behind me started to go crazy about you, and I'm defending you, and
go crazy about what?
Neil Rogers this. How can you listen to this guy? I said he's the best thing to happen to Florida.
Now, how old were these people?
They were in their 50s. Yeah, and I'm carrying on. I was getting so angry at them. I trying to talk to them. I said, Then as I'm walking to my seat, I say to them, I look back and I say to them, well, you're the type of people that voted for for Bush and for all the other reactionaries, right? And then I stopped laughing at them. Anyway, my comment is this: I just finished reading this really interesting book that was a runner-up for the National Book Awards 2 years ago. It's called The Kidnapping of Edgardo Mortera by this author David Kurtzler. And what it talks about is up until the 20th century in Italy, the Catholic Church talks about the forced kidnapping, conversions, and baptisms of young Jewish children by the Catholic Church. And it talks about this one infant who's 6 years old, Edgardo Mortera. And after what's going on now in Miami with this kid, the similarities are frightening, because the next step, is to really get the Catholic Church involved with this kid, right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, they'll bring that.
What do you mean the next step? He's already going to Catholic school every day.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
But I'm thinking
he's already seeing the Virgin Mary on the mirror in his bedroom.
That's true. But what I'm saying is that I guess that they'll have the priests start really speaking up to prevent any return.
No, the Catholic Church is playing it safe like they usually do. They're staying on the side.
But what really repels me
also
politically
correct
is that Yami Bop his lawyer, who, how can this guy defend and not even say anything when that quote in today's paper, that it's like similar to what the Nazis with the Jewish child,
Have a great day, sir. 567-0560, pound 560 on the AT&T wireless line. Here's Carroll City. Hello.
Hi, Neil.
Yes, sir.
Never called you before, but I've seen recently in the newspaper and heard some commentators speculate that Janet Reno has something to be wary of when she retires from her duties as Attorney General and returns to this community. And I'd just like to say that she's the closest thing to a hero we've ever produced, and she's the only one in this whole situation that's had any backbone.
They're not saying that in Waco, I don't think.
Well, no, I'm sure they're not, but
Let me tell you this right now. If Janet Reno were such a hero and if she were such a hotshot, that kid would be back in Cuba with his father right now, and they wouldn't have been dragging their feet, and they wouldn't be testing the political waters, and she wouldn't have made such an impassioned, wimpy speech yesterday about, oh, she loves this community and she was born here. She'd have said, this is a country of laws. We're not taking any crap from little Mayor Pinga Pequeña or any of these other banana boat dictators, and the people have to obey the law, and this is the way the law has been interpreted, and the kid's going back. Bada bing, and that's it, if she had any balls.
Well, when
I'm not giving any brownie points to Janet Reno.
When the mayor stood in front of the microphones at high noon on Wednesday and made his comments, the whole situation changed for me. I think that was the defining moment in the end of Dade County, was when he got up on that podium. And let me say it again, if anybody missed it earlier. 12 of the mayors whose names were put on the list or who were standing on the podium have in the last 2 days made it very clear that they don't want to be associated with his remarks, and they're embarrassed and humiliated, and it was totally inappropriate. Neil, when the federal government should come down here with its armed force, and I don't know what the chain of command is in our local police, but they should ask Mayor Pinellas, if he's at the top, tell him that our police, we're not going to go in and get Elian Gonzalez. Your police department is going to go in and take him out of that house. And if he refuses... No,
they're not.
At that point,
the INS agents are going to go in and get him out of the house.
Well, he should be told to go in and get them. And
Okay, have a nice day. A lot of really interesting people today. A lot of people just really wiggy as if we don't have important things to worry about, but we're back buried in a sea of this again, if you pardon that expression. Buried in the sea with Elian. On and on and on and on. Will it ever end?
No.
Will it ever come to a conclusion?
No.
It's like a goddamn soap opera. And you figure sooner or later they got to tie up some loose ends with at least one of the 48 storylines, right? Is it ever going to come to a...
No.
No. Never, never, ever. And you wonder why I love getting on that plane and going just about anywhere and getting as far away from here as I possibly can, as often as I can. Is there anybody in their right mind who wonders why?
No.
I don't think so. This is not a real place. This is a place where all of the energies, 95% of the energies are expended on crap like this. And we keep getting dragged through the same old, tired garbage, whether it's the Mariel boat lift, whether it's the goddamn Coast Guard and the refugees, whether it's the Los Bam Bam, whatever it is, every 6 months, every 3 months now, another one of these goddamn banana boat hysteria acts. And you got your Lincoln Diaz Balart and Ileana Rosanna Dana and Mayor Pinga Pequeña and Joe Carroyo and a whole bunch of crazy people that probably belong in an asylum together. Dade County is an outdoor insane asylum. That's what it is. That's precisely what Dade County is. You know, when I first came here to KAT in 76 and after 6 months and they said, what do I think of the beach? I said, Miami Beach is an outdoor funeral parlor. And here we are 24 years later, and I can say beyond the shadow of a doubt that Dade County is an outdoor insane asylum. There is no question about it. There is nothing rational that goes on here. There's graft involved in everything from the roads to the airports to education to you name it. Nothing at all gets done in Dade County without payoffs and graft. Nothing. And once in a blue moon, like the Herald, comes along with that big investigative report, a year, too many 2 years, too long and too late, but nevertheless, a good job on the airport. Anything changing?
No.
Oh, no. No, we got the fox guarding the chicken coop now, Mayor Pinga Pequeña. All of whose buddies have got all the contracts in there. Yeah, he's appointing a blue ribbon panel now, they got, to investigate. They got the foxes standing right outside guarding the chicken coop to make sure we don't let any illegal aliens in. So good luck to you. You live in Dade County. Let me say it again. The result of yesterday's poll had a big result, 762 votes. Evidently a lot of strong feeling about Dade County. 430 people said it was a banana republic. 304 people said it was a toilet. 28 people said a great place to live. 3.5%. So in other words, 96.5% said it's either a toilet or a banana republic or both. To which I would say,
absolutely correct, sir.
Amen.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 WQAM Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Neil got out WQAM, where the faggot is.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I wanted to talk to you about bridges,
about
cars, and boats that you talked about earlier.
About what?
Bridges, cars, and boats.
Now, we're talking about bridges over the causeway, not the ones in your mouth.
I don't have any, my friend.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah.
Calm down, sir. Take a deep
fine
breath.
and dandy. Those are regulated by the United States Corps of Engineers. You knew that, didn't you?
No.
Well, it is. All bridges over navigable waterways
See, if I knew that, I wouldn't have been asking, see?
What's that?
I said if I knew the answer to the question, I wouldn't have asked it in the first place.
Okay, well, all I'm saying, sir, is that the United States Corps of Engineers are the ones that regulate bridges over navigable waterways.
Over what?
Navigable waterways.
Yes, sir, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's up to them to decide what time the bridges should not be open to the marine traffic.
Yes? And what time should they not be open to marine traffic, sir?
I'm telling you that they come up with the times.
Well, what is the time?
I believe it's at rush hour times, sir, that they are not open to marine traffic. Other than that, they are open to marine traffic.
So, in other words, any schlep with a boat can come along and back up traffic for 2 miles.
That is absolutely correct, sir.
Well, what kind of a communist bunch of crap is that?
That is not a communist bunch of crap, sir.
Sounds like some kind of Neanderthal fascist Connie Pinko
You've got 5,000 automobiles to one boat.
Right, exactly.
So the boat is going to stop for 5,000 cars? Is that it?
No, I think that 50,000 cars ought to stop for one jackass in his boat. I think that's what they ought to do.
Man, you better know your laws, mister, because you sure don't.
That's right.
I suppose you want the damn bridges closed to boat traffic in a hurricane, too.
I want the bridges closed, period, okay? I want them closed. I want the Bridgetender to go home and watch MTV and get the hell out of our lives.
In other words,
I want those bridges closed. Let them use the Julia Tuttle, okay? Let them use the MacArthur Causeway. I think they all ought to go on the George Washington Bridge and jump, all the Bridgetenders. How do you like that, sir?
Well, I don't know about you, but you sound like some stupid, idiotic jerk.
I'm not a baby. I'm not a baby. I'm not a baby. The way guys look at me, the same. Not till they bet you're glad. I'm not a baby. I finally turned 18. And I'm scantily clad, yeah. Honey, all you want to do is me. Not a baby, but I'm really hot. Wow, it's because I'm not the fear I used to be. And there's this schoolgirl dress way above my knees. When you think of what you do to me, remember that I'm legal, baby, that's no crime.
Let's cruise under ocean skies, where girls are with girls and fellas with guys. Let's climb right up the crow's nest. Drop anchor with me on the old poop deck. You'll love the gay boat. Soon we'll be making another run. The gay boat promises festive payloads of fun. Oh, you can be Gilligan, I'll be the skipper. Ahoy! Hi, little buddy! The sea is the place you should go if you stay on deck or like to go below. You'll love the gay boat. Welcome aboard the gay boat.
Josie, talking on a sports show, trying to be macho. Your voice sounds just like a 7-year-old girl, a little sports host shill. What else are you there for, Gelby? Gelby, talking like a baby who needs a little training. Why can't you understand? You don't sound like a man. Remove the rubber band. That joke, your throat top, Gelby. Gelby, Gelby. Gelby, you're lucky man, it's don't care. 'Cause Gelby, you don't belong there on the air. And Gelby, the sports can wait till your voice cracks. 'Cause anyone who sounds like that should find another job. And they should only take you back when both your BBs drop. Oh, Gelby, Gelby, when you gonna grow up? You make us want to throw up. You silly squeaky poo. Go to broadcasting school. Your prepubescent voice make you sound like a put. You're 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 a
From our huge state-of-the-art facilities somewhere in the Bible Belt, where no one seems to wonder where we get all the money for the gold-inlaid furniture, it's the Fortune 700 Club.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you very much. And hello, I'm Reverend Pat Robertson.
And I'm the woman who nods in agreement at everything Pat says.
That's right, she sure is. Isn't she great? All right, now, I want everyone to get out your holy Wall Street journals and open up to the stock quotes page.
Or better yet, if you're online, go to www.fortune700club.com and sign up for our low-cost stock ticker. Praise the Lord. It has really changed my life.
Amen. Amen. Okay, today at the Fortune 700 Club, now we're going to take a look at the company called Visicom. That's VZ on the NYSE.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look here, Visicom just rose 3 1/4. My goodness, it's a sign that God must really, really love them.
I am not in agreement with you, Pat. Amen. And I'm sure that you notice that this other company, Data Tech, on the other hand, is down 5. Well, sounds like maybe they're trading with the devil.
Amen. Satan's work is definitely being seen here.
Oh, so if you have that stock, you're going to hell.
Or at least your portfolio is.
Amen.
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 Well, friends, we have reached this all-important and very serious time in the Fortune 700 Club when we all join hands. Let's all join hands and bow our heads in prayer. Dear Lord, let the investors who lost their way find the path to financial prosperity by being more mindful of online trades for just a small monthly fee at www.fortune700club.com. Amen and amen.
Gee, Pat, you know, I feel spiritually and financially renewed.
Amen. Amen. Well, it looks like we're just about out of time here.
Yes, we are, Pat. But now, you folks out there, just remember, it is never too late to become a trading partner in the Fortune 700 Club. 24/7. Our investment counselors are ready to help pray for your stock for just a slight surcharge.
Oh, that is good advice. Now, be sure and join us tomorrow on this Fortune 700 Club, and we'll pray for Disney's growing second quarter profits to plummet. Take care, and may God bless tomorrow's NASDAQ.
Amen.
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 Amen. Praise the Lord.
And here's another obnoxious fact, only this one is unsigned and with a couple of lines crossed out and like really almost too obnoxious to acknowledge, but I will anyway, just briefly. It says, for those who say Miami is dying, please address them with the following. Property values in Miami continue to skyrocket far above the national averages. Poverty levels in Miami are concentrated among African Americans and non-Cubans. Are you following that? In other words, there's no poverty in Little Havana? Is that what this person is suggesting to us? That there are no schleppers in Little Havana or any other parts of Dade? And then he goes on about the economy and this and that and the great entrepreneurial accomplishments of Cuban. This is another one of those slap in your face what we've done here. And very ironic because he says Miami is the #1 TV media and musical center for Latin America, with most major Latin music videos and songs produced in Miami. Most Latin TV programs are also produced in Miami, mostly Cuban-owned. Isn't that ironic that we couldn't have the Latin Grammys here because of the same reason that most people who live here and spend a lot of time here are nauseated and revolted and said the things we've been saying and will continue to say? And a big song and dance about the airport is this. And by the way, I hate to break the news to you about Miami Airport, #2 in the world for international passengers and freight. The fact is that most of those passengers don't spend any time or any money in Miami or anywhere in Dade County. Hate to break the news to you. Just another one of these arrogant, oh, look at what we've done. And you know something? Fine, more power to you, but that still doesn't give you the right to dictate the way we run our goddamn lives. Trying to rationalize an unacceptable kind of behavior, and you know something? You're never going to sell it to this kid or to anybody with a brain. Oh, look what we've done. Great, we'll pack your goddamn sandwich. Great, pat you on the back. Now what? What do you want to do for an encore? Here's a call in Kendall. Hello.
How you doing, Neil?
Okay.
Once again, you're the only breath of fresh air, and just to give you some accolades.
Absolutely correct, sir.
Yes.
That's right. You're the only one who, when we had the 1 penny sales tax issue, was coming out instead of the Herald. But let me get sort of one point. Last night, MSNBC, Mr. Levy from the Cuban Defense League, mentioned that the Gonzalez family, they're using the kid strictly as their own personal lottery ticket. What everyone seems to forget, all the Cuban radio stations about 3 weeks ago ran a big fundraising thing where a couple of $100,000 was raised. It was put in the bank of Mary Aliso, where she works. Where is this money?
Yeah.
Where is this money?
I don't know.
When he brought it up to the other person, some other woman was there defending it. She got real hot and bothered that they should bring up where this money was. What happened to this $200,000?
It's probably the same place that other $2,500 from our OJ golf tournament went that was supposed to go to Center One.
Yeah, there seems to be no accounting for that money.
Right.
All that money that people gave, where is it going?
Well, it's probably going in the pockets of all these Jew lawyers, I would think.
Yeah, right, sure. Anyway,
It
one thing on a funny note, then I get something else just for a real quick second. My business associate, Barry, says that he wants to know if this kid's going to be here for Pesach.
Okay, and have a great day. All I can say to that is, pound 560 on the AT&T line. The out-of-town line is open if there's anybody in the free world out there who's interested in participating in this exercise in total and utter futility. Get it over with. Let's get on with it. Get it over with now, Janet. Quit the potchking around. Get on with it. And let's start the ball game, okay? Let's get on with the important things. Here's Cutler Ridge. Hello.
Good afternoon, Neil.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Okay.
I have a comment about this Mr. Gonzalez. He says that most of you callers are Anglos and from Broward, right?
Uh-huh.
And
I've been watching I see Cutler Ridge, Miami.
Exactly.
I'd say at least 60% of the calls today have been from Dade County.
Well, for his information, I'm Cuban and from Dade.
Yeah.
And because of this whole situation that's happening in Miami right now, I'm ashamed of it in both counts. Okay? This guy is such an idiot. I'm out of material now.
Okay.
Have a good.
Yeah, he's playing with it. 567. He would give one of those too. Worldwide line, Fort Myers. They're sitting over there yucking up a storm. All those yahoos over there. It's one of those rare times they can say that we're proud to be in Fort Myers and in Port Charlotte and in Naples, etc. If I were you over there in Naples, I wouldn't be too proud. You got the Beasleys to deal with. Here's Pembroke Pines. Hello.
Yeah, Pembroke Pines.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can I talk to Neil?
Speaking.
Oh, speaking. Yeah, Neil, I'd like to reply to this Gonzalez person that wrote you that fax.
The mad faxer, yes.
First of all, the only way the government can end that standoff is just cut off the food stamps and the SSI checks to the people that are demonstrating in front of that house, and you'd see how fast that line would dwindle to nothing.
Yeah.
And let them go to Jackson Memorial Hospital and check on how much money the Cubans are costing the United States government and the taxpayers in Dade County for the cost of the Jackson Memorial Hospital going into the hole for millions and millions of dollars. And all I got to say to Mr. Gonzalez is, Mama la pita.
Okay. She'll be on in a few minutes with us, by the way.
Well, that's the one thing he said that was right.
Right. Yeah, I have no idea what he's talking about. I mean, he's just another one of the, what did I tell you? Chronic old voice that I've been listening to for 24 years, babbling a bunch of crap.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 QAM, the home for South Florida sports. Sports Radio 560, QAM.
WQAM, go f*** yourself.
Now back to the Neil Rogers program on 1240 WGBA. Here again, America's youngest talk show host, 6-year-old Neil Rogers.
Okay, I guess we're done with mail, and there's 4 minutes left in the hour. So let's take some calls. Elian, hello.
Yeah, Neil, how's it going?
Good.
That's good. Listen, I canceled my subscription to the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle.
The good agency. What an abortion that paper is.
Then I asked how many other people did likewise, and they said none of my business.
Yeah, well, they're really nice over there.
Okay, well, I just thought I'd let you know.
You're a fine American. Have a nice life. Hello. Hello.
I want to speak to Neil.
You got him.
Am I on?
Yes.
Neil.
Yes.
Neil, you're a stinky, pinko, glue-sniffing bedwetter and a pansy.
Great call. This is the day so far. Did he say pansy? How does he get off? What a mung brain. I ride my bike 30 miles every Saturday to do this show, and this guy calls me named. Shame on you, sir. Shame on you. By the way, have you seen some of those bad boys at the new AMP? Now, what are you cackling about, eggs? Is this my son? 1,000,000 producers in the world, and they stick me in here with an egg. Shut his mic off. Seneca Castle, hello.
Oh, Neil, you used to be such a nice boy, and now you're so terrible.
Yeah, but you can't shut it off. You can't shut it off. I don't need this. I have offers from other stations. Batavia, Elmira, Fredonia. But instead, I stay here and entertain you grotesque, subhuman doodlebag. Unbelievable. Geneva, hello.
Hello, is this Neil Rogers?
What kind of phone are you on, sir?
How's that again?
Do you have a dial phone or what?
No, I had to put it to the operator.
Well, let's not get into that.
Hey, I was listening to Joey Reynolds on WKBW last night.
Somebody has to.
Did you hear what he's been saying about you?
No, I don't listen anymore. He's a doddering old man.
He claims he's only 40.
Yeah, right. And Joey beat Truman, too. Oh, shut up, Ed. You're pathetic. And if you think he's bad now, wait till he hatches. Oh, boy. Okay, when we come back, maybe the egg will come out of his shell. But I hope not.
If you're someone who likes to listen to the radio, then Billboard CDs has a brand new offer that's so exclusive, we're only offering it to the general public. It's Top 40 on the Tambourine. Yes, get all your favorite Top 40 tunes with the vocals and instruments stripped out, so you hear only an auxiliary percussion instrument that most people find really unnecessary to begin with, including songs like Smooth from Santana featuring Rob Thomas. Meet Virginia by Train. Then the Morning Comes by Smash Mouth. Black Balloon from the Goo Goo Dolls. Sugar Ray's Someday. Hanging Around by Counting Crows and many, many others. Order in the next 38 minutes, 14 seconds, and for a significantly more amount of money, we'll give you a second CD called Today's Hot Country on the Wooden Block, featuring songs like Breathe from Faith Hill. Cowboy Take Me Away by Dixie Chicks. What Do You Say by Reba McEntire. My Best Friend by Tim McGraw. So don't save your money for something important when you can carelessly squander it on 2 CDs sure to collect dust in the back of your collection for years to come with Top 40 on the Tambourine and Today's Hot Country on the Wooden Blocks. To order, call 1-800-TODAY.
You know, in fact, I think I could summarize that last fact that I was referring to. Basically, it was saying Miami wouldn't be Schmidt without the Cubans. And, of course, look what it is today. Here's Miami. Hello.
Yeah, listen, I believe that even though these guys are demonstrating, it's still a freedom of expression. And we did not invent that. It's been going on in this country forever. So regardless of whether or not...
Let me say this to you, sir. No, there's a difference between demonstrating and terrorizing. For example, the threats of disrupting everything that these people don't like. For example, the Latin Grammys or any of the other things that cannot take place here. Concerts with Los Van Band. That hasn't been happening since
That's
the beginning.
That's a good point. You make a good point. But
in addition to which, threatening to disrupt the entire community because people don't always get their way is not what demonstrating is all about.
It's not a question of getting your way. It's a question of reminding people what is going on in that country.
No, sir, we don't want to be reminded, okay? We're well aware of what's going on. And I'm going to tell you, winning friends and influencing people, if you really expect us to believe that they're trying to get people on their side by disrupting the traffic and by dropping gravel on the roads and blocking the highways and disrupting people's lives, if that's the way to get sympathy for their position, then these people have got bad advice.
You are correct. Yes, there is a political agenda behind this, but it's a question of reminding people always.
Sir, we're not interested in being reminded, okay? We don't have Alzheimer's yet, okay? Go remind Ronnie Reagan. He's having trouble remembering what it's all about. We don't need to be reminded. We can't get away from it for love or money. We'd only wish we could get away from it. And the bottom line is when you come here, I don't see any Irish people carrying on and going nuts in the streets because they're killing each other again in Northern Ireland, and they just can't nail down that goddamn peace agreement. The Protestants and the Catholics, they keep protesting and killing and bombing and all the crap. It's never, ever going to end. I don't see it. I just don't see these things from any other groups anywhere in America. And stop making excuses, will you please? Oh, they're reminding us. We don't want to be reminded. We already know. We'll write it on the goddamn refrigerator. We'll put one of those goddamn Post-it notes on the refrigerator. We don't need any more reminders. You're rationalizing, you're excusing. It is inexcusable. We are tired of it. This is a country of laws. Oh, and by the way, speaking of a country of laws, here's a great editorial cartoon by Morin in the Herald this morning. Shows a place with a big theater with a big sign, nude dancing, a big marquee, live show, XXX. And right next to it, Gun Mart USA. We blow away the competition. Easy, fast background checks, Saturday night specials. And it says above, which establishment does the Supreme Court ban as a way of combating crime and other negative secondary effects? That's right. Shoot 'em up, baby. But that kind of shooting?
Squirt.
No, we don't like that. Pasties in the G-string, that's what it's all about. That's what's going to save America from Steve Allen and all those other senile farts that were on TV yesterday. That was pathetic. I mean, he really has lost his marbles. With all those other right-wing Republican congressmen, oh, yeah, well, there's too much, the violence and the sex, and the word crap was on it. And they keep saying the word crap. They know that it's going to be on the news, and they keep saying it. So just remember, the reason all those little kids are shooting each other, it's not because everybody's got guns, it's because people are saying crap too much. There's just too much crap going around. Here's Hollywood. Hello.
Neil?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay.
Well, I'm down here about 10 years from New York. I'm 26 years old.
Yes, sir.
White male, and
Was that white non-Hispanic male?
Yeah, non-Hispanic.
Okay.
And also, I called the mayor the other day.
Yes.
Yesterday, because I checked out your website. I listen to you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But before I get to the mayor, I called you a little while back around December. I was in New York, and I came back down here, and I said, what am I doing here? After I came back.
Yeah.
And I called you, I talked to you, because I think this is when the Elian thing first started. But, I've been here for 10 years. I worked at the Hilton on Miami Beach, and my boss was Cuban and everything, and he said he didn't want whites working there. And now I'm, suing them. But that's just, I'm so annoyed with the way people are treated down here, and especially the way that the Cuban community just acts towards everybody else like they're more important than anything else in this community. Mm-hmm. And it is
arrogant, obnoxious, absolutely unacceptable, and ungrateful. That's the thing that bothers me. When somebody gives you an opportunity, all the opportunities that Cubans have had here, and then to slap people in the face and say, hey, look what we've done and how successful we are, we're going to have it our way now. That's not the way, rational people react and respond.
Right. I mean, I worked at the Hilton for 5.5 years, and then my boss, he's Cuban, he tells me he doesn't want whites working there. And then he harasses me and everything else. So I'm suing him now. I mean, that's the sound of it. I'm suing him. But,
okay, nail his ass.
But, yeah, well, let me tell you about the mayor when I called them. This is even better. I spoke with a Miguel.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, I called him. I said, I read I read the article in the paper in the Sun Sentinel, and I told him, I said, I read it, and I'm a little disturbed by the comments that Mayor Pinellas made. I said, I'm not a resident of Dade County anymore. However, I do work there, so it does apply to me. I feel that my safety...
And what did he say?
Oh, he says, well, this is a very sensitive topic, and we're trying to deal... And I said, well, why are you trying to do it? This has nothing to do with the county of Dade. I said, this is a federal... United States matter. This has nothing to do with Dade County.
Yeah, but you're forgetting Dade County's got its own foreign policy.
Well, I know, and I told them, I said, Dade County's only, in any of the cities, that those mayors that were up there, their only responsibility in this entire matter is just to maintain order and make sure that people are not getting, causing riots.
Like farting into a windstorm, man. That's the response you're going to get. Good luck, pal.
All right, take care.
Okay. Yeah, they claimed they had 400 phone calls, which I'm disappointed if that's all they really got at the mayor's office. And that 60% were anti what he said. Now, that's very sad. That 40% could back him and could support.
I don't buy that.
Well, that's what they're saying. That's probably coming from your good friend Juan Medieta, probably coming from him. One of your people, of course. Here's a fax from Bill, reference Mr. Gonzalez in that fax that I read earlier. I haven't even read this yet, but I'll read it cold. It says, I've lived in South Florida my entire life. It's become apparent that I and others like me, born as U.S. citizens, have idly sat back and let your extremist Cubano brethren take control of our local government. I'm ashamed of myself and all other Americans who have allowed this to happen. Your opinion, Mr. Gonzalez, is typical of the barbaric mentality those in your community have chosen to take. I'm not jealous of Cubans who have become successful. I'm disgusted with the way many of them have done so. Land-owned companies rarely hire American employees with any ethnic group other than their own. Their customer service over the years has gotten more and more discriminatory as the years pass. I can't walk into a shop on Southwest 8th Street without getting dirty looks and bad service. Every time your Cuban demonstrators block the streets or spit in the face of our democratic way of life, my stomach heaves. Your mentality is almost adolescent. If anyone should be mad, it should be those of us who have spent our lives in this city and seen it slowly crumbling to Schmidt because of people like you. Last of all, and yet foremost, a warning. I'll be the first one to admit that those of us who have lived in this country from birth have slowly grown numb to idiocy we see gaining a foothold on our shores, but be prepared to battle a sleeping giant. It may take a lot for us to get off our ass and get involved, but you're coming close. Elian, it's unfortunate you got caught in the middle of a childish tug-of-war. We seem to all forget that the father in Cuba has gone through the loss of his wife. Even if she was estranged at the time, it's still a loss. The abduction of his son is not the kind of response one would have hoped for from an exiled community who fights for the oppression of their own people. Use some of your own success to get an army together. With all your brave talk and patriotism, God, I'm sure, will help free your country. You may even see the visage of the Virgin Mary in the plume of smoke from the explosions in your valiant rebellion. You're pussies, and so is every Cuban who sits over here in the freedom of America eating more than their fair share by the looks of their fat asses, says Bill. How do you like that? Bill's a little bit upset, it sounds like to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sounds a little bit pissed off and fired up about their fat asses. I don't know, I see a lot of Miguel don't have a fat ass. Well, we keep coming back to him. Well, he just happens to be handy, okay? Maybe he does have a fat ass. I don't know. I doubt it. It's all so sad, so juvenile, so divisive, so hate-filled, such crap, such garbage. Thank you, Mayor Pinga Pequena, for your spectacular, ballsy leadership, not for pandering to a very narrow constituency, for being a professional ethnic, as opposed to a man with vision and leadership. And all this swill in the paper about, well, Mike Abrams says this, and this political expert says that, about this guy's political future. He's got no political future. Take it to the bank. See, one thing about this program, because even though I may be an atheist, communist, fag, whatever it is, the fact is that when we take these surveys and we see, like the presidential thing, people aren't going to support a Democrat strictly because I'm a Democrat. We get all kinds of Bush people, and we had McCain people. We have a vast number of opinions among the people in this radio show. So as opposed to taking a poll on the Spanish language stations, basically which 99% of the people all are in agreement, and like I said before, they're preaching to the choir, you're actually going to get a hell of a lot more representative cross-section of opinions on this program than you are anywhere else in this community. And in addition to which, you'd be wasting your time with the Spanish language stations trying to offer. You know what it's like? It's like when they had the demonstration down there at the INS, when the Elian thing, when they had the first wave of hysteria. And there were one or two guys who were down there with signs saying he belongs back with his father, and they wanted to kill him. Yeah. And the one guy, hysterical, communist, you're an effing communist. I'll never forget that, the guy with a green shirt, just psychotic. And then they had the thing at Sister Jean's house. And you remember that one poor slob that came in at a young guy with his sign? And the cop said, you better turn around and get your ass out of here because you may not walk out. See, that's not my idea of a peaceful demonstration. That's my idea of terrorism. And anybody who thinks that Dade County doesn't exist under a terrorist threat all the time is dreaming. Here's Pembroke Pines. Hello.
Hey, Neil, how you doing?
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
Today's my birthday.
Well, how about that?
Yeah.
I'm going to actually give you a little one.
Thank you.
If I could find one.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
I hope my wife's listening because I told her I'd call.
Well, she knows about little ones, I bet.
Listen, about Elian, you know, it's I'm tired of it also.
Oh.
I'm a Spaniard, okay? I was born in New York, but I was raised in Spain. And my family came out of Cuba through Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm appalled at all these old farts that are just like making a huge deal. They're hanging on to this issue because they're just desperate. It's been 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand their side. I understand it. But on the other hand, I understand the people that are calling in, okay? And they're concerned, hey, the roads and all that. Listen, get off the roads and
get the hell out of away from the airport. And
that's right.
Don't keep threatening to do this and that and the other. And then to have the politicians, have the mayor stand up there and say, "Oh well, we're not going to be responsible for what's going to happen because the federal government is provoking these people," as if to somehow justify that they're entitled to go ape crap if they can't get their way every time. It's unacceptable. Anybody with a brain knows that. This isn't a debatable point.
And politicians, turncoats that they are always. Okay, now you got Mr. Al Gore.
What a joke.
That is a very big joke because all he's doing is he's going for the Latin vote, and that's all he's doing.
And he's not going to get it. He's not going to get it. All he's going to do is piss off non-Latins, and that might cost him the state of Florida.
I bet you anything he went to Bubba before he did this, and he said, listen, I'm coming out with this, okay, and it's just for the votes.
Yeah, instead it's coming out. He worked for Barney Frank.
Yeah. Hey, Leo, thanks a lot, man.
And have a great day, okay. That Barney Fag boy. Bring him down here. He'll knock these bastards into shape.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 QAM. Keeping you up to date. Sports Radio 560 QAM.
This Sunday on The Sopranos.
So what, no DD now? Hey! Well, me.
Suck my your sister's ass. Here comes the Prozac. You would take the lips over the tits.
Toodle ooh.
You motherfucker. He's got a real attitude problem. Why don't you kick me in the head? The words will come blowing out your ass.
Put a shirt on. I'm getting a chubby.
There's two things I'm good at. It's pulling dents and spotting good jobs. I might not be able to wipe my own ass, you know that? You're born to this
I'm a babbling idiot. Can you just shut the up about it?
Stick it up your ass.
Now cut your off. Get yourself under the vaporizer.
You're a stupid motherfucker, you know that?
You piece of shit. Oh, now please, don't start with that name business.
What the is your problem?
Oh, the audience with the Pope.
I bet you're very good to your mother.
Yes, what?
Yeah, you.
You with me?
Some day, huh?
It's nothing but a racket for the Jews.
Jesus Christ, how you doing?
Nosy? Eat your Marigot. I can't eat that. It's got cholesterol.
Can I just get some macaroni and gravy? And you.
You.
Me.
I don't like that kind of talk.
Anybody else want to mouth off?
This, I'm going to Boca.
I got a couple open lines now if you've been trying to get through here. Also, the last faxer says, oh, and this is probably great for your ratings, too. You ought to be grateful to Elian, all this stuff. Yeah, like I invented this. Isn't it amazing how I managed to manipulate all the stuff that's going on around me, and we can exploit it and yada, 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 yeah. Believe me, I'd be the first one to squeeze myself feverishly if this would just all go away. One way or the other, just bring it to a conclusion. Let's go on with life. Believe me. Oh, but we got to remind you. I don't want a reminder, okay? Like I said, we'll put a Post-it note on the refrigerator. Here's the Gables. Hello.
Yes, this is Neil.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Neil. This is Beth. I'm calling from Coral Gables. The reason why I was calling was because I feel like you have a lot of control about the issues that are talked in your show, and I'm just curious of why you just don't press the release button and everybody that calls in, and then you won't have to talk about the Cubans and the whole thing. I think that you enjoy this conversation because this is what gives you ratings.
No, I talk about whatever is going on. I've always done that. Whether it
well,
was
you're all upset because this is
whether it was the penny. Yeah, are we going to have a conversation, or do you just want to make a speech?
Go ahead.
Whether it was the penny sales tax, which had nothing to do with Cubans, that the mayor tried to impose on Dade County, or whatever else is going on. That's what I've been doing for 24 years. I didn't invent the topic.
Well, maybe I heard wrong when you were saying that you were sick of having to talk about this topic. You don't have to talk about it. You have a lot of control over your show, and I think that you have a lot of strong points.
And why would you like me not to talk about it? Because you don't like what I'm saying? Is that it?
No, because you're the one that's complaining. I'm fine. I can hear what you're saying, and I can disagree. You have very strong points, but the reason why your strong points don't come out correctly is because you have a lot of anger and hatred against certain ethics and groups.
No, I do not.
Oh, I think you do.
No, I do not.
Well, that's why we have, you have your opinion and I have mine.
It's not. This isn't an opinion. You're ascribing certain attitudes to me that don't exist. I don't hate.
This is my opinion.
I don't care what your opinion is. I don't deal with groups. I deal with people as individuals. I've always said that. I don't give a damn what country
everybody
you came from.
that calls in and they give in to you treat them like puppets. You give them what they want to hear, and then they call back, and that's how you get your ratings.
Am I treating you like a puppet? I'm listening to what you have to say.
You're not treating me like a puppet because I am against what you're believing.
How come I didn't cut you off?
How come
I didn't cut you off?
You have a lot of anger, and you need therapy.
Okay, I need therapy. Oh, here we go. Well, you need therapy, and you have a lot of anger. That's why she would like me to stop talking about it, because I'm not singing the right tune. Too bad, sweetheart. You can't handle the truth, can you? Emotional cripple. Maybe you're the one who needs therapy. Oh, yeah, you hate these ethnic groups and you're full of bitterness. You know something, sweetheart? You just don't get it. You're another one of these brainwashed idiots. I don't care whether you're Cuban, Nicaraguan, Portuguese. It doesn't mean anything to me. I've been all over the world. And like my mother would say, and it's one of the few things that she's ever said that makes any sense, people are people. That's it. All you kids out there, people are people. It doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference. Jews and goyim and gay and straight, all this other crap, like I've told you a zillion times if you listen to the show, and obviously she does, even though it pains her tremendously. Labels suck. Labels suck. And like when we're doing these polls, like we're doing today with the ethnic thing on our website, just out of curiosity, just to see who we have listening out there. Which, of course, kind of then you look at that and you match it up to the opinions you're hearing, and it gives you a little bit of a better idea. I just don't care. It's one of the last things that ever comes to mind if I meet somebody. What country are you from? Where were your parents born? What is your ethnic background? What the hell do I care? What kind of fairy tales do you believe in? I'm the one that's bitter. But I need therapy. Here's the Grove. Hello.
Neil.
Yes, sir.
This is Juan Gonzalez. I sent you a fax earlier this morning.
Yes.
That you received.
Totally unacceptable.
Well, can I defend myself for a minute?
Well, I mean, I read your fax in its entirety, and now you're calling in on top of it?
No, I'm not going to talk about the fax itself.
Yeah.
Okay. Trust me.
But that's not the point whether you're talking about the fax or not. I mean, the fax went on for like 2 or 3 minutes, and now you're calling in as well as if I didn't give you enough airtime, but go ahead.
Well, first of all, the fax, the only thing that the fax contained was just some favorable comments about Cubans. That's all it was. It wasn't condoning the protest.
But what does that have? What does that have? You know what that reminds me of? It's like every time, it's like this Jewish defense thing. Every time somebody writes something anti-Semitic, we have to write about, Einstein did this.
But let me tell you why I wrote that fact.
Can I finish the
Yes,
statement, please?
Yes.
I don't subscribe to that kind of paranoia, that kind of defensive attitude about your religion or whatever it is. It's unnecessary.
Okay. Maybe it is. Maybe
it has nothing to do with the issue.
Okay. Maybe it is with you. Okay. I listen to your show. I've been listening to your show for years. I'm going to continue listening to your show. It's very entertaining.
Yeah.
And it's a damn good show.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
In spite of what that bitch said before, yes.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of...
And she will continue listening, too.
The reason I sent that fax, which has caused about 8 of callers to call you on that.
Well, you got a lot of response, at least. That's what
yes,
you want.
Yes, they get a lot of response, and the reason why I got a lot of response was because I was just pointing out some good things about Cubans. But forget about that.
No, but you didn't do it in a very reasonable way. I mean,
it came about arrogant.
Very arrogant. That's the word, arrogant.
Let me tell you
very
something.
Unacceptable.
And I just want to say something to all the callers up there. I am as American can be. But anyhow, the reason I sent the fax was because I was outraged at some of the things your callers say. Because to me, some of your callers are at least sound as extremists as the same people they're criticizing. They call Cubans crazies, morons, barbarians, send them back to Cuba, all sorts of things.
Well, because
that is unacceptable.
They're pissed off. They're angry and they're pissed off.
I understand, but just because you're angry and unacceptable, you say just because the Cuban exiles are angry and unacceptable doesn't mean they have to get their way in protest. Well, just because some of your callers are angry and unacceptable doesn't mean they should say some of the stuff that they say that's outrageous.
Yeah.
Because they're insulting my dad.
I think that a
great
many.
My grandmother.
I think you know something. My grandmother was a very nice person, but I could have said she was crazy as a bedbug. She used to stand in front of the candles on Friday night with all that stuff. She was also a religious, superstitious nut.
No, but Neil, that a lot of the comments that are very bigoted comments. They really are.
Because this kind of stuff, this business of trying to continually rub people's noses in this and terrorize the community, this is what it does. This is what it engenders. It creates enormous friction and tension and hatred.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
That's correct.
Okay? And I just want to let you know that, Cubans don't burn the American flags. They don't lie about discrimination.
Cubans don't do anything any more than Jews do anything. Let me say it again. People are people. I'm sure that you could find a Cuban who has burned an American flag. You could find a Jew who's burned an American flag.
Sure.
You could find a Jew who's burned a Star of David.
Generally speaking,
so what does that mean?
Okay.
What does that mean?
A lot of people,
if that's the case, how come we see so many of these damn Cuban flags every time we see these protests?
Well, let me explain
That's not the flag of this country. That's the flag of a communist country.
Give me one more minute and I'll explain it to you. Okay? If you're willing to listen.
I'm listening.
Okay. First of all, the Cubans, if you're watching this on TV, you think the Cubans are protesting or anti-Americans. That is as far from the truth as can be. Cubans love this country.
Why are they waving the Cuban flags?
This country in Vietnam.
Why are they? All you're doing is giving me Enrique Fernandez column again. Why are they waving the flag of a communist country in our face?
Okay, because they hope to bring attention not to the U.S. but to the Cuban issue, and they hope that by waving their Cuban flags, if it's broadcasted in Cuba, for example, that they see, hey, it's a big stretch. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's a successful strategy.
This is just like the guy that called me before, the young guy, and said, we have to try to keep reminding. We have to get, something? We don't need any reminders, my friend, and have a great day. We already know. Believe me, nobody who lives here can get away from it for 5 seconds. You go to the toilet. There it is. There's Fidel looking you right back in the face. Think it's the tidy bowl man? It's Fidel. Schmidhead. Oh, God.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 QAM.
Sports Act Radio WQAM. Another bit.
Peeping through the keyhole, watching Mom and Dad. Peeping through the keyhole, the most fun we ever had. Mom and Dad were playing tag right there on the bed. Mommy used her boobies as a pillow for Daddy's head. Mommy's head was bobbing. She almost got whiplash. I don't know what she was drinking, but she got a milk mustache. Peeping through the keyhole, ain't sure what I see. But I sure do like it more than anything on TV. Mom and Dad were hooked together like my Lincoln logs. Last time I saw something like that, Mom was yelling at the dog. Dad was breathing heavy. Mom was on her knees. He must have had a boo-boo cause she kissed him where he pees. Peeping through the keyhole, watching Mom and Dad. Peeping through the keyhole, the most fun we ever had. But we watched a little longer, and I started to get sick. Yeah. If Daddy's name is Elmer, why Mom asked for Dick? Daddy groaned and his eyes rolled back. Mommy wanted more. She climbed back on top of him, but all he did was snore.
Okay.
Peeping through the keyhole as the minutes passed. I can't wait to try this out on some girl in my class. Oh, I can't wait to try this out on some girl in my class. Oh!
7 o'clock the pregame, 7:30. Ottawa Senators and the Panthers, 5,000 unsold seats. Going to be there?
No.
I'll be there. It's like when all these people come up to me at the hockey games and I meet them for the first time. People I've never seen before, or I maybe saw like 6 months ago. They don't say, "Hi, Neil, I'm Cuban," or "Hi, Neil, I'm a Puerto Rican," or "I'm Jewish." What the hell do I care? It's like Jacob when he came down there to shake my hand the other day. Do I care where he's from?
No.
No. I just hope he comes back soon. Here's Kendall. Hello.
How you doing?
Okay.
Boy, dead air is fantastic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You have no idea how sorry. Oh, what a place.
The comment that I just want to make real quick here and let you go because I know you're going to be leaving pretty soon.
I am?
There was something in the paper that disturbed me.
I'm going to be leaving pretty soon?
I got to get out of here. I got to go to South Miami.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But there's something that disturbed me very, 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 very much in the paper this morning. And that is a picture of a man holding a 2.5-year-old boy that was snatched from his mother and taken back to Jordan. Where were the Cuban people for this one?
They don't care about that.
Why not? She's Puerto Rican.
Yeah. Oh, that even now the more reason then.
Okay, where were they? What is the hypocrisy here?
Yeah.
If the Miami-Dade Police Department went in there and helped, and they're not going to help with the Elian thing, I think there's a big problem here.
Yeah.
And that guy who just called up and sent you that fax to try to say that he is American as American whatever, and all he said was things pro-Cuban, then I suggest, yes, you should go back, and that is still a communist flag.
Okay, and have a great day. Here's a Fab Ross, a proud law-abiding American, faxes and says, Mayor Alex Pinga Pequeña, how dare you pretend to represent a county in the United States and to pander to the lawlessness of your Cuban cronies? In case you haven't noticed, we have laws in this country. We are a country of laws that must be obeyed even if we don't like the outcome. Always remember that you and your Cuban people are living in my country, not the other way around. You say you will hold my president responsible for any civil unrest when the blame goes to all Cubans who chose to leave Cuba as opposed to fighting your tyrant in your country as my forefathers did here in this country. Elian is not being sent back to Cuba. He's been sent back to his father, who happens to live in a country that you and all your compatriots fled while tripping over each other to get here. You should thank God and kiss the ground of the U.S. every day you live here. My grandfather fought in WW1, my dad fought in WW2, and I faithfully served my country for the freedom that you've done nothing to enjoy. You make me ashamed to have voted for you, but never again, says Ross, with his last name, etc. Nice going there, Ross. Stick it to him, that Mayor Pinga Pequeña. I guarantee you got a lot more than 400 phone calls over there and faxes, etc. It's on our website, by the way, on neilrogers.com. Eric's got it all on there with the email address and the phone number for Mayor Pinga Pequeña's office, etc., his orifice. Oh, yeah, well, we only had 5 calls, and, of course, 4 of the 5 were very enthusiastically supportive of us, and they all said, Viva Mayor Pequeña. Oh, God. And at one page in the Herald where they're trying to rationalize about his political future and about all the great publicity he's getting, yada yada. It's mind-boggling, scary, terrifying. Here's Sunrise. Hello. Sunrise. Going once.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Speak to me.
Yes, sir. Deal.
Yes.
Really enjoy your program.
Thank you.
Say, saw in yesterday's paper where the father of Elian would be coming probably in Washington.
He's coming.
And it said that he might be bringing a lot of Elian's little friends from his school.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to say that the parents of those children from Cuba...
We'll never see them again.
Well, they should be very, very cautious, because if any of those children who come here have a distant relative or a great-great-grandmother living here someplace, that battery of attorneys that Elian's family has will probably file for residency for all those children, and we're going to have another 10 or 15 Elians more to contend with.
Well, let's hope the relatives are all living in Jersey. Here's Miami. Hello.
Yeah, Neil.
Yes, sir.
Cuban American here, man.
All right.
Embarrassed as hell by what's going on. Embarrassed, but I must say, I don't agree with him going back, though.
Yeah. Well, you're entitled. You could, like I said, you can make an argument either way.
You know, I just have one thing to say to the Cubans: stay off the roads, man. Stay off the road.
And stay the hell away from the airport.
Exactly, in the Port of Miami because I work in exports.
Stay away from the airport unless you get on a plane outgoing.
You know, they're embarrassing the hell out of everybody. They're going about it the wrong way.
Right.
But the kids should not go back. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I just don't think he should. That place is a shithole.
Okay.
All right. Take
Thanks.
care.
See ya.
Bye.
5670560. I guess he hasn't seen the parts of Little Havana lately either, I guess. Here's Pompano. Hello. Pompano.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're
I know.
not coming through on the
I
phone.
know. Sorry.
Okay, I'm here.
We're always having to apologize because the phones never work. But anyway. Sir.
Is this Neil?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. First time I called.
Now you're apologizing.
I'm an American, and you've had some excellent calls today, and you've had some very excellent faxes, and I happen to agree with most of them except for the one, Mr. Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
However, the one that I didn't understand, what I don't understand is nobody seems to bring up the matter of how do we impeach the mayor? Should he not be accountable for his actions and for what he said on those inflammatory remarks?
Well, that was my first reaction, and I agree wholeheartedly he ought to be impeached or recalled. But, it takes somebody who lives in Dade County. It takes somebody like a Dan Paul or somebody who's got some legal and political clout to organize, a petition drive, and I just don't see it happening.
Because you can have an 81-year-old woman bring suit up against Scott Cowan here in Broward County.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand why our system, why our own government can't bring suit against him on the basis of the suit.
Right.
I mean, his actions are totally un-American. They're bordering on what I consider treason. They're treasonable remarks.
Yeah, I agree.
And the same laws that protect Elian Gonzalez, which he's not entitled to, aren't protecting me because I can't go to Dade County now because I feel that I'm losing my civil rights.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's 12, more than half of those mayors who he claimed were all on his side this morning and yesterday made sure that they distanced themselves by 1,000,000 miles from him. They were embarrassed and humiliated.
So is there nothing I can do as a Broward County citizen then
No.
to help bring proceedings against
No,
that?
find somebody in Dade County. You must know somebody in Dade County who knows a lawyer or some rabble-rouser in Dade County and
Sure.
put a bug in their ear.
Okay, I'll do that.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And you'll have my support, I'll guarantee you that. You'll have my 5,000% support, even though I work in Dade County. I got a right to have an opinion. And like I said, I go to the airport a lot and use it very, very much. And I guarantee you, wind up spending, even just for magazines and candy and crap at the airport, spend more money than most of those goddamn green-toothed assholes ever will in a lifetime at MIA. Even if it is all going in the mayor's back pocket. Not that there's corruption, you understand, at Miami International or anywhere else in Dade County. You understand that.
You're listening to the best of Neil Rogers on 560 QAM.